Join us live every day on Wild Earth. This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Dumela, hello and welcome. What a beautiful scene we are having here right now. And this, of course, means you are at Tswalu Kalahari. Very warm welcome, and we are so excited for you to join us in search of all these amazing creatures through the red sands. Amazing, beautiful, big male giraffe that is actually hiding from us right now. What a beautiful scene it is today, with lots of clouds moving over us. Just creates this very nice atmosphere for us, and a little bit of cloud cover, and hopefully some rain. Alright, beautiful male giraffe making his way to the next bush. Very warm welcome, good afternoon. My name is Carl and behind camera is Glenn. And thank you so much for joining us here at Tswalu Kalahari. Beautiful big male giraffe, busy taking a late afternoon lunch. And he's decided to go to another tasty bush for this afternoon. And how tall is this animal? Wow. He's very tall, so that enables him to eat off all the big trees here at Tswalu. And he's able to eat off a lot of different types of trees. His height, how tall he is, and then his long face enables him to nibble on all these lovely trees, which provides him the food that he needs in order to survive. Nice big bull. We have a few more at the bottom. Tendra, what species of giraffe do we have on Tswalu? This species is the southern giraffe, and the only species that we have here. There is other species occurring on the continent of Africa, and they will all vary on their pattern color and as well as size. They come in an array of different beautiful patterns, and each pattern being unique to that specific species. So this one over here, the southern giraffe. And this big bull is getting tucked in to that juicy tree. Look how he's stripping the leaves from the branches, using his lips and as well as his teeth. This is the species that we have in South Africa. As you go through the continent, you have a variation of these big, beautiful, majestic animals. Some places recognize 7 different types of giraffe, and some places recognize 9 different types of giraffe. Giraffe falls into one family, and it's only giraffe as a species, but there are variations of this wonderful animal. We're going to send you to another amazing location. We'll see you shortly.
Jumbo, 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 everyone. Welcome to Masai Mara and to my friends in Southern Africa, Sabonani. It's another beautiful afternoon. We're already at the marsh in the Mara Triangle in the Masai Mara with a beautiful setting of wildebeest and zebra everywhere. The weather in the Mara is fantastic, around 29 degrees Celsius. We expect to have some rain. I don't know when, but sometime today we might have some rain. It is expected to rain. Remember to talk to us, hashtag Wild Earth. You can also send in your kids' questions at Wild Earth TV. Comments are also very, very welcome. Look at what I have here. wildebeest everywhere. Jumbo, a very good afternoon. My name is Isaac, and on camera I have the one and only Bungei, and we're set out here at the marsh to bring you what is happening. The wildebeest have arrived here in their numbers, in their tens and of thousands. As you can see, they were not here yesterday. They were a little bit away to my right, around 100 meters, but now they've gotten straight to the marsh, and I'm expecting to find them deeper into the marsh. For some reason, a few of them are starting to turn backwards. It is always the case when there's a big thicket or a big forest in front and time is running out. They try to go towards where it's much open. I cannot blame them. They think, there is lions or leopards. This is the white-bearded gnu, an animal that is found in millions over here in the Masai Mara and Serengeti, but only for a very short time of the year. We normally see them from the months of July all the way to September, but this time they have extended their visa and they have decided to stay a little bit longer. We'll be talking about that. I'm going to move further down, see how many numbers I see further down, and while I do that, let's see what another vehicle that is out there is about to show you.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Western Kruger National Park, the greater part thereof. Here we have got a dung beetle pair, and they're on their way, I think, to a nuptial feast. That means they're going to mate and have a feast afterwards. Either that, or one of them is hitchhiking a ride and will steal this ball from the other when they get there, wherever there is. But if you watch very carefully, what you can see is that the one that's doing the pushing, most likely the male, climbs on top of the ball to orientate himself and then keeps going. So he knows where he's going, and it's a little bit of a mystery as to how he knows where he's going, but we think he uses the polarized light. We've watched him now for, I don't know, about 10 minutes. See how he climbs on top, has a look. Now he's stuck on some grass. Now he's back on top, having a look, moving along. It's just great. My name is James Henry. On camera today we have got Paul. There's his thumb. And we're enjoying the warmth of the afternoon. The sun is out finally. And we have this magnificent little set of dung beetles making their way presumably to a hole or some place of safety where they can consummate their marriage. These are the most common dung beetles that we get here. There is one that you won't be able to see from all the way over there, who's much smaller than these two though. And he's flying gently along behind them, and I think probably taking pieces off the dung ball, or trying to lay eggs in the dung ball. That's more likely, actually. They are so strong for their size. Much stronger than us. They're able to lift, I forget exactly what the figure is, but it's something like 100 times their mass, maybe even more. And one of them is just completely passively sitting there, doing absolutely nothing. I'm very tempted to help them by moving some sticks, but I think he's managing just fine. Must be absolutely exhausting. Such an effort. So he's probably looking for a little hole maybe just some shade, but definitely some nice safety.
Well, dung beetles are very fascinating. Back to what we have here, and it's a dazzle of zebra. Looks like they're very happy, enjoying the delicious grass. What we have here is part of the migrating herds, believe me. Not all of them have headed back to the Serengeti. We still have a good, maybe, I would say, 100 to 200,000 still hanging around here. I cannot blame them, but we had lots of rain at the end of last month, beginning of this month, and that pulled them back. Usually they migrate following greener pastures, and having all this grass here, I think it forced them to come back. When migrating, herds are about 3 million animals, and it's a combination of eland, topi, Thompson's gazelle, zebra, wildebeest, nomadic lions, leopards, and hyenas. While here, they usually roam around the game reserve and the triangle, crisscrossing the river, utilizing the grass. The females come into season, they mate while they're here, and by the time they head back to the Serengeti and reach their final destination, which is the floors of the Ngorongoro crater close to Olduvai Gorge, they are ready to drop their calves in the months of February. It's an amazing sight to see over there because hundreds are born every day, and it's a sight to behold. Over here, what I can see, it's a mixture of everything. So it tells me that these are still all migrating herds, and they actually not moving very much, this time of
Good afternoon, I'm going to this other side of the Mara. We have buffalo after the jacuzzi. The name is Tim. Here in Canberra we have big chips. It's starting to rain a little bit, so it's a good thing because the buffaloes can cool off a little bit. Since they were in that mud pool, we water it, mixed out mud and water. So at least they can be cooling off from the rain. Most of the animals will die.
Hello everybody, we are here in the Sabi Sands and we're starting off with something small. Both with James and I, he had the dung beetles, and here we have a mantid egg case, and for me that just screams that spring, or well, summer is coming very close and everything's gonna burst and I'm gonna love it. Hi everyone, it's me Trishal and I've got BK on camera this afternoon. We're at Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands and it's lovely and warm. Everything is very, very green. And we have this gorgeous mantid egg case. So tiny little mantises would come out of there when the time is right. And this particular egg case is quite unique, and it belongs to a species called Hoplochlorophylla grandis. I don't think it has a common name, but they're quite slim, brown, thin mantids. The mother will deposit her eggs into this egg casing, and then she churns up the soup of different proteins and she creates this case, and you can see where she's zipped it up. Kind of looks like a little zip there. That's where she would bring it together, and it would be quite wet when she creates it, and it hardens as it gets exposed to the air. It makes sure that those eggs inside stay at a good temperature, a good moisture level, and are protected from any type of predator, whatever they may be. Towards the bottom of the case, you'd find a little hole where the little praying mantises or mantids would come out. Lana, you'd like to know how old this egg case is. I'm not sure how old it is because the mother creates it as soon as she is going to lay her eggs. So she could have created it today. She could have created it last week. I don't know. In fact, those mantids could have already hatched. We won't know. But we'd prefer not to disturb it because if they are still in there, we obviously want them to survive, so we won't disturb it. In there you'll get little chambers. Sometimes when we're out on bushwalk, you may find one that's discarded, and then you can have a good look. But it's definitely from this season. You do get old ones that you may find on the ground and things like that, but they're quite trampled and they're not stuck to a twig in the way that this one is. Very nice. I love finding these. His, of course, technical name is an utica. The nag, you say it reminds you of an onion? I can assure you that, well, while I do agree with you, it does look a bit like an onion. A tiny cocktail onion. But I'm sure it doesn't taste the same. Can you hear that? That's a grey-headed bushfly. And it's in this tree behind our egg casing. I wonder if you'll be able to see it. I saw it fly in. Ah! And off it goes. A beautiful, beautiful bird. Seldom seen, but often heard. Anyway, our plans for today is to go through the Mulwati, that's our dry riverbed, and have a look at all of the little things that would have sprouted up, little flowers, little mushrooms, things like this egg casing, little budding bits of vegetation, and of course some elephants, maybe a leopard, you know, the usual. I've gone past the hyena den to check if our little ones are out, and they're not. It's quite warm, so we can check a little later too.
Yes, elephants and leopards. Who could possibly wish for more? Well, here we have got some elephants. No leopards just yet, but these will do. And it's so nice having them in the sun, because it has been very cloudy and rainy for the last 6 days or so. And now, although there's a stiff breeze, it's lovely to have the late afternoon light on this little herd of elephants. They're probably about, I'm going to say, 5 or 6 only in this little group. Maybe a few more down below there. Yeah, no, I can see a few more, maybe 10. And I think they'll be enjoying the sun as much as we are. Now, quite interestingly, I know that we can't see a great deal of them at the moment, but what we can see is a good close-up of their skins. And I read something interesting, courtesy of one of our viewers who sent me an article. She sends me hundreds of good articles. What you can see, if you zoom in as close as we can into the skin there, Paul, is that it looks wrinkled. Now, I hadn't realized this, but those aren't wrinkles. they are cracks more than they are wrinkles. And there are hundreds or thousands and thousands of microscopic cracks in the elephant's skin. And what that does is that it allows the elephant's skin to behave like a sponge. And it absorbs water, and this then helps the elephant when it's trying to lose heat. So instead of sweating, it cannot sweat. It can only sweat, interestingly, from glands around the toenails. I'm not sure whether they play any actual role in helping with heat regulation, but they cannot sweat through the skin. And so those tiny cracks help the skin to act like a sponge, and it allows the elephant to use evaporative cooling as a technique for staying cool when it has to stand in the sun. So when you see elephants rolling in the mud and swimming and that sort of thing, the skin is absorbing a lot of water, and that's helping the elephant. I remain unconvinced that the tossing of sand on the skin plays a massive role in helping with external parasites. I might be wrong, but I don't think that that's been proven sufficiently. And also, I think that the cracks and the way that the skin feels, it's probably just very pleasant for them when they throw sand on their skins, because they're often not very fastidious about where they put it or covering their whole bodies. They just sort of throw it down the sides or under the belly. I think it probably just feels nice. So they have fascinating skin, do elephants, as well as just being fascinating in and of themselves. This youngster is very relaxed, only about 10 meters from the car, and getting on with her day without the slightest care that we are over here. I'm sure you can hear the wind. You can probably also hear the Birchall starlings going quack, 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 and then the contact calls of the young francolins. Here comes the big mother from around the side of the termite mound.
Yes, I'm still here with these huge herds of zebra and wildebeest, and I hope you're enjoying this. It's one of a kind situation. Doesn't happen throughout the year, so also I'm very happy to be seeing this late. The migration of wildebeest is only a very recent phenomenon. Many people are all of us might think that it's a very old thing that started a very long time ago, but yes, it did exist in the late 1890s, early 1900s, but towards the turn of the century, 1900, there was a very big outbreak of rinderpest and foot and mouth disease, which killed a very huge number of wildebeest, including domestic animals. And it took a very long time for the intervention of doctors to come up with a vaccine, and also it took a very long time for the numbers to grow back to a number that they could actually have the urge to migrate. So what you see here is a very recent phenomena. They say it started in the 50s, in the 60s. That's when it started, 1950, 1960s. That's when it really started. The numbers were not this high, but every year they are growing with about 100 to 150,000. So it is rather very interesting how nature controlled the numbers, because I think they were getting out of control, and it was necessary for nature to cut down on these numbers and also to put doctors on their toes so that they could come up with a vaccine to cure this deadly disease. So the numbers are increasing, and they haven't reached a number where we could say it's alarming that we need to cull them or we need to control. So they are doing really, really well. Where I am looks like everybody here is at peace, as you can see. Munching, munching, munching. Enjoying the wire grass. It's a very hardy, tough grass, but it's full of nutrients, and that's what they are feeding on here. This is the common or the Bachel zebra, the only one of its kind that we find here in the Masai Mara. We do have another species called, Grevy's zebra, and it's only found north of equator all the way to Somalia.
Now, we've just moved a little bit forward, and this is the big cow that was coming round the side of the termite mound here. And she too is just feeding very peacefully with another two, including the little one that was in front of us. And then there are a whole lot more down in the dip behind us here, or in front of us, behind her. And one of them's making an almighty ruckus. I think probably a youngster who's not being allowed to suckle. You can probably also just about hear the orange-breasted bushrat calling. Sonia, they get any number of nutrients from the branches, and I guess it really depends on which branch they eat. So I don't think that the nutritional content of the branches of the trees they're eating now is the same as the nutritional content of the branches that they eat on, say, a red bush willow. And remember that they're not looking for the structural material. They're not trying to eat the structural wood, the lignin and cellulose that makes up the wood. What they're going for is the vascular tissue, the xylem and the phloem, which carry the nutrients up to the leaves and then down again from the leaves. So the starches and sugars down from the leaves, and then the water and nutrients from the soil up to the leaves. And that's what they're looking to eat. So it's that and the bark. So they get all sorts of sugars and minerals and trace elements from eating that vascular tissue. The structural stuff, the lignin and cellulose, etc., is very difficult for any animal to digest, and it's one of the main reasons that just about all the herbivores out here, in fact every single mammalian herbivore and 99% of the other herbivores, have gut bacteria, or a lot of gut bacteria, and enlarged sections of the gut where they can ferment the vegetation. So in the case of a ruminant, that is the rumen, it's the front stomach. In the case of an elephant, it's in the hindgut. There's a great big vat full of bacteria that helps them to ferment that plant material and the structural material, and that helps break it down into useful nutrients. Because almost no animals have the enzymes capable of coping with cellulose. We're having a wonderful time now. Isn't this lovely? Hi, little one. This little one's just a bit curious, but also quite nervous. that's one of them next to us talking, and then I can hear one of the others down in the dip there responding. It's just a little bit of a kind of warning to not come any closer. I'm not sure why she decided, having walked around us completely, that suddenly she should give us a little bit of a warning. Maybe it was Mpho's tattoos that she noticed for the first time. I think that's definitely what it was. Right, I'm going to sit here and explain to this dear elephant that we really shouldn't judge a human being by the tattoos they have on their bodies.
All right, so just following up, welcome back to Tswalu Kalahari. Just following up what we were doing this morning, we visited the meerkats and we skipped on Mother and 3, and they have moved further south. And if you look over here, oh, there's a good track. Beautiful set of cheetah tracks. So yesterday they had a bit of a dinner. They had a young kudu carcass. And these animals have moved further down south where we are still busy tracking them. And looking at these tracks, we're looking at various little telltale signs. So looking at the track length, if I put my book down here, we're looking at nearly 10, that'd actually be the wrong way with the light, looking at nearly 10 centimeters in total length on this track. Maybe 10 and a half, 11. And looking at it, what we're looking at is various items like this over here. So in the track over here, that would be the claws being presented. Nice long toes. That's a toe, that's one toe, 2 toes, 3 toes, and 4 toes. And the back of the pad would be over here. It's a little bit disturbed, we can't see it great. And for the viewers that were with us a couple of days ago, and for new viewers, we're looking at the back of these lobes. Remember, those true cats have those 3 lobes at the back of the pad, that main pad of it, and where dogs or the canid-like species have 2. 1, 2. All right. And looking this over here, I can just see 1 lobe, 2 lobes, 3 lobes in this track. And looking at cheetah, they've got a very long track set in comparison to lions and leopards. Lions and leopards are fairly round. They've got nice round toes. They fit nicely together. But with cheetah, it's a very long track. And with your lions and leopards, you're not going to find these claws being presented within the track. So we're looking at 10 and a half, 11 centimeters. Claws being presented over there, nice long toes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this long pad. This is a beautiful cheetah track. So if it's not making a lot of sense over there, we can look at this beautiful little drawing over here. So when it comes to tracking these animals, understanding various parts of the track is very important, because experienced trackers, just like we have here on Tswalu, they have to remember partial parts of the track. So no matter where you are, no matter what substratum or ground you're tracking on, they're going to be looking at various parts. They might only have a toe or maybe a nail that they need to recognize and understand which animal is and what is it doing. So looking at over here, we can see the claws, 1, 2, 3, 4, they are presented out of the track. That is the claw over there. Nice long toes, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this long pad. And this long track allows this animal to have a lot of surface to ground contact, because the acceleration of a cheetah is phenomenal. 0 to about 70 seconds in about 2.6, 2.8 seconds. That is phenomenally fast. And what we can see here is actually 2 sets of tracks. This would have been the front track where the animal's front foot was put down, and this would be the back, the hind track that came down at the back of it. And looking at the toes, just like our toes, the toes are giving us direction. So it shows us that these cats have moved further south, southwest. And from where they were this morning, they've moved about a half a kilometer to where these tracks are. So myself and Glenn are going to continue following these tracks. Excuse me. Little bug little bug just went down the hatchet. We're going to continue following these cats because after their meal yesterday, hopefully we can find them in a shady spot and hopefully we can get some late afternoon action. Late afternoon like this after they've had a feed would be a bit of relaxing, a little bit of grooming, and hopefully those young sub-adult cheetah have a little bit of play still left in them. So when I talk about the difference, let me just go back to that quickly. Sorry that I'm bouncing around. So just so that you folks can understand, look at how different the two tracks are. That is a leopard track. Look how round it is. Massive pad in the middle, nice round toes, and no claws presented. You can see the difference over there. Beautiful. Unbelievable.
So as Kyle is watching over them tracks, I have buffaloes that were previously in a water jacuzzi where they were cooling off, and this seems like a nice place because it just rained a little bit. So we'll be going over to the other side of the Mara to check if the wildebeest have gone into the swamp or not, or it seems like he got scared, got spooked by something there. They have a high sense of smell, and whenever they smell maybe predators, that is what can make them be spooked. It seems like these other ones have not picked the smell yet. They're downwind, so it's easy for them to pick any smell, and sometimes their vision is also super good. And that's the reason why they see that one has already sensed something. And as soon as they pick any slight smell, they will be alert. Look at how he's staring. And once they see something over in the distance, most of the time predators, they will tend to walk away. Or sometimes they'll be aggressively walking towards that predator. It's one of the most successful herbivores because in terms of security, in terms of how they fight off predators, they are super defensive. So when they have a big team like this, about 4 or 5 of them around here, then that security is assured. Look at how big their horns are, very sharp horns. These are old bulls, can be grumpy. They are not as fast, so the only defense they have is to fight their enemy. Like most herbivores, they of course are scared of predators, so they also worry when they're in a good distance. They always keep off and watch or maybe run, or sometimes they will force to defend themselves to position.
Here we are once again with this beautiful family of grey-crested crane. They haven't moved very far from the usual spot. They seem to be very local around this area of about 1 square kilometer. They go to the marsh, they come out here up to the road. I think there is a special kind of treat that they come for here, because in the evenings I find them here and in the morning they are down at the marsh. The young ones are still growing. I think at the moment they are growing. They're almost, about to fly. So it's a very good achievement. Surprisingly, we have seen other pairs with young ones. There is another pair with just one, and then there's another pair with 2, and there's another pair with 2. So we have around 4 pairs with little ones that are growing. So it seems like it was a very good season for them. They're busy eating seeds. This is the national bird of Uganda. Uganda is our neighboring country, and this is their national bird. They mainly feed on seeds from different types of grasses. They feed on insects, spend a lot of their time on the ground, but when they need to move, they will fly. or when they need to get away from any danger, they will fly. Sunset, thank you for your beautiful comment. Love these crested cranes. I'm very thankful that you appreciate them. It's not only about animals, but birds are also very, very beautiful, and particularly this bird. I'm very fond of it, and sometimes it is nice to see it almost every day. We normally don't see these many chicks, but it seems like the marsh has provided a very safe haven for them, and so they are doing really, really well. That is the marsh where you're looking at down there. It might look like it's not wet, but I tell you, my friend, over there you cannot drive, you cannot walk. It's very, very soggy. To get to the other side, sometimes you have to drive for almost an hour to, go around. So it is a very muddy spot. You can tell that one of the cranes, the adult to the right, has got its neck stretched full out, and that is to look for danger. They are very caring and loving, and they would like to see their brood survive. Well, this is very beautiful, and I'm loving it. I'm going to stick here for a little bit and then move on. And while I do this, let's take you to another live safari vehicle.
Now these spotted eagle owls, here we just see the female on her precious treasure. They also look out for each other while she sits here and is constantly sitting on her egg, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 6, however many she's sitting on. She only leaves them to defecate. Her partner will bring her food and is usually nearby in one of the trees. Her sole job for the next few weeks will be just to keep those eggs nice and warm. So it's been about 2 weeks since we've seen her like this. And they need about 29 to 33 days of incubation. So we have another few weeks to go, but we will keep track and see if we get a tiny little feathered friend. They're irresistibly cute, these little spotted eagle owl chicks. Can you imagine right under there's this thing developing in a shell. Each time we've visited her, which has been since James and I have been back, it would have grown a little more and a little more and a little more. It's just amazing. Now, the fact that birds lay eggs is also a really interesting thing, or why anything lays an egg. And one of the reasons that I remember learning about that I had never thought about before was the fact that if you have eggs and you can leave them somewhere, it means that while they develop, you can continue to hunt, you can continue to leave the site to defecate. You're not carrying extra baggage that can compromise your survival. And that was an interesting thought. I don't think I had thought about that before I started working out in the bush. So peaceful. If she does leave to defecate, it'll probably be in the evenings, under the cover of darkness. So we will probably never see her clutch without her on top of it. But what we will see in a few weeks are a few chicks, even just one, I think we'd be very happy with.
So I thought we would start off this morning, this afternoon, this morning for some, but this afternoon with some birding, seeing as we're in one of the hot spots of birding in South Africa. So my name is Jared, and we're here at Ambient Phinda Private Game Reserve. We've got Craig behind the camera, and we've just found a very, very special bird for this area. So I was mentioning this is a hot spot for birding, and in South Africa, Phinda is one of those hot spots. And we have around 420 different species, and this one that we've got right here is one of my favorites. So you'll see very, very long legs. Oh, busy airing its wings. And we had a bird with a crest a little bit earlier, and this one you'll also notice towards the back of the head has a little bit of a crest. Almost looks like it has a pencil through the ear or the back of the hair. And that is how it got its name. This is known as a secretary bird. And normally you'll see them in pairs, so they do mate for life. If you have a look just to the left of the secretary bird, there is a Egyptian goose. And there's also one, except the pair for that one is just around the thicket, so Egyptian goose also mate for life. And you'll notice when we go back to the secretary bird that this is a slightly different color secretary bird as what you'd normally see. Normally they're very gray. You'll see a little bit of bronze on the secretary bird, so you might think, is this a juvenile? And it is not a juvenile. You'll notice all around where the secretary bird is, there's lots of sand and mud, and it is not uncommon for birds to come and sandbath, and I think that's exactly what this secretary bird is here to do. Busy sandbathing, trying to get rid of any parasites. So Christine, birding is generally if you're looking for particular species, you'll go to a certain area. And secretary birds, for an example, which is the one that we have here, they do like open grasslands. Now during the day, morning, middle of the day and towards the evening, you'll find secretary birds on the ground. They do hunt insects, reptiles, small rodents, and if you ever do see them trying to catch a rodent or a snake, it almost looks like they're tap dancing. They're jumping up and down, trying to stomp on their prey. And then if you are looking for a secretary bird around sunrise and sunset, you normally look at the top of trees. They like to sit right at the top of a tree, generally a tree with quite a flat crown, and that's where they will roost. All right, so while that secretary bird is just gone behind the thickets, I'm just going to ask Craig to pan around to the left here, and you'll see some of the fantastic area that we're in at the moment. And the reason why I came here this afternoon is to look for some grazing animals. So we've got some wildebeest and some zebra right on the top of the crest, but the animal I've come to look for this afternoon is rhino. So the reason why we've come to this open area for rhino is that we know that white rhino, which is the more common of the two species that we get here on Phinda, like to eat grass, and not too far behind us, it does start to become far more thick, and those are areas for black rhino. So I think this afternoon we're going to be looking for both white rhino and black rhino. And something we also know about open areas is it's not only secretary birds that like them, but it's also cheetah. And there is a female cheetah with 2 older cubs that likes to hang out in this area, so we've come here for that. But I must be honest, on Phinda it's not very common to see about 20 wildebeest together. I know up in the Mara you're seeing thousands of them together, and so 20 wildebeest together isn't too exciting, maybe for you, but for me it is. We don't often see about 20 of them together. And we have some zebra off to the left of them, which is also very common, that the wildebeest and zebra have been together. I just want to pan back, Craig, to where we had that secretary bird, and there where I said we have some Egyptian goose. Have a look just in front of that. We have what looks like a tortoise, but it's not a tortoise. It is a terrapin. So that terrapin is, you can see it is wet at the moment, so I think it's just come from a little bit of mud or water behind it, so between me and it, and it's on the way now to that water over there. Now, a terrapin is like a tortoise or like a turtle, but one of the ways that you can distinguish a terrapin from tortoises and turtles, so a turtle lives in water, a tortoise doesn't, but a terrapin also lives in water. Now, a tortoise retracts its head straight in, a turtle cannot retract its head, and a terrapin sort of retracts its head in, but in a hinge sort of formation, so facing forward, and then will hinge it into the left underneath its shell to protect itself. And so there he goes, nice and slowly. It's been a fairly hot day, so I'm sure he's just trying to get back into the water to cool down.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a nice and sunny and beyond Ngala. So we are currently with a pair of black-backed jackals, a big open clearing. Of course, majority of the time this is where we would find them. It's pretty much our first sunny afternoon in about a week. So yeah, welcome. You're with me, Rowan, and Odie behind the camera, and it seems that our jackal are now just behind this bush, going further and further and further away. It was funny, as we were driving up here, I was saying to Odie, this is where we used to find 5 jackal altogether. But I think now what happened is the youngsters actually moved off. So we are stuck with just the 2 adults. Being monogamous, you'll always find them denning around this area. See the one slowly moving to the left and the other one sniffing around on the right. No rush at all, no hurry. Beautiful animals, especially with the backdrop of just dried grass. I'm saying that dried grass, you can already see the green shoots of the grass coming out because of the enormous amount of rain we had in the past week, which was about over 110 millimeters. Seem they have calmed down now. They're not trotting away anymore, just walking around, sniffing the area. Okay, Williamson, you've asked, is the black-backed jackal's sound different to the side-striped jackal? Okay, it is indeed. They'll make the sound almost to say this is our territory, but also to attract mates. You'll find black-back wants to mate with black-back, and side-stripe would want to mate with side-striped jackals, which is why they'll have 2 different sounds. Okay, I hope you've heard the black-backed jackal call before. It is beautiful, absolutely stunning. Really, I remember when I was young, I used to go with my dad to where he grew up, and I remember a short little camping trip, and full moon, a bit cloudy, and just side-striped jackals calling all around us. Really, just such an awesome memory. I think we might have spooked these 2 a little bit as we came up from the Timbavati River. That's why they're just heading further and further and further away from us. Like I said, beautiful afternoon. Nice to have a bit of sun. Nice to also not get wet for the day. Bit of a breeze picking up. Still cloudy, but not too bad. It's nice of them to stop for a little while as well. I'd say at this stage, they're pretty much 200 meters away from us. And you can see they trot away, then they'll turn around and look at us again, and then trot away a little bit further, turn around to look at us. Also very aware of everything around them, which is why they prefer these massive open clearings. There's no predator that can actually sneak up on them at all.
Well, still with our herd of elephants. We weren't looking for another one, and then just came back to this one because, well, they've been so very confiding with us. They're all just still quietly looking for little morsels and delicious bits and pieces underneath the trees mainly, so mainly in the areas where there's shade.
Jadwal खाली या भाई इसे रिलैक्सिंग में
Oh, that lovely sound of them scratching their skins against the bark. Ray, elephants mature to adulthood at different rates, so depends what you define by adulthood. An elephant cow can have her first baby at between 11 and 13 years old, and sometimes even younger than that, but 11 and 13 odd for a female, but she's nowhere near full size. And in fact, elephants keep growing until just before they die. So, it depends how you define adulthood. I would define it as birth of the first youngster, or certainly the first successful mating. And so for females, 11 to 13 years, although they're still very small when they're that size, when they're that age. And then males, or the bulls, often don't breed until they are 35. But they've been reproductively capable for a good 15 years or so, more. They hit puberty when they're about sort of 16 or so, but like human beings. And, it just depends on how you define it. But let's say a bull elephant 20 odd and a cow 13 odd, although, they get much bigger as they get older. They're just browsing gently off towards the east, and eventually they'll turn towards the northeast, I suppose, and go towards the big dam over there for some water.
It's always nice watching elephants. I can stay with the elephant for the entire day. Now here we have a big herd of zebra and wildebeest. Now in the morning we had lots of wildebeest moving towards the marsh. And it's not yet scientifically proven that they can smell rain over distance, but experts say that wildebeest can smell rain over 50 kilometers away. And if you look out in the background there, way over in the horizon, it's raining. And we had some few showers on this side of the Mara. So in the morning, it looked like it was not going to rain. Some say that they can be triggered by lightning and thunder. And I'm going to believe that because it's raining over in the distance, and evident that these herds were walking over towards this other side. But now it's getting a little bit confusing because it's raining on that side, but they're returning back where they were this morning. So could be it's going to rain again further to the west where they're all facing to. So the rain has a little passed here, so they're enjoying that grass, which is moist and sweet. This grass have a lot of protein and calcium. So they give these herds very, very good energy. That's why most of them walk a long distance away, like these zebras and wildebeest. And when the youngs are nursing from their mothers when they're little young, they get that energy because the milk that they nurse from their mother gives them that calcium, which is very, very strong. And they reckon they can, after birth, only 4 minutes, they're strong, up on their feet, and they can even outrun a predator. We had opted or expected to see a big crossing this afternoon, but because of the change of weather, they've all now walking away from the river. Elephants sometimes get to mix with this herd, but then they get pushed off. We've seen some few herds, only that they're covered or behind the forest there. So sometimes they don't really like mixing because these herds come in swarms. And of course, I think maybe they're too noisy for the elephants.
Thank you so much for your question. Yes, I've seen elephants chase big herds. I've once witnessed when there was a big herd of buffaloes, and one of the buffalo got too close to a calf and actually knocked down the calf, and the matriarch got super angry, went straight to the buffalo and tossed him up in the air. That was once that I've witnessed. And sometimes the younger bulls, the teenage bulls, you'll see them chasing other species like buffalo, wildebeest, or even zebra. But the one that I saw was a very serious one. I'm going to hang around these herds. So if you have a question or comments, hashtag Wild Earth on the YouTube comments section at FC. For our young viewers, kids question at wildearth.tv. Let's send you over to another safari vehicle.
The starling. We're sitting here with an African harrier hawk who's now about to have a very nasty afternoon because he's going to be bombed by a Birchall starling. I was just telling him about how aggressive the fork-tailed drongo is, and now we are witnessing that the Birchall starling is also not particularly tolerant of predators. Now, the reason for the Birchall starling's angst in this particular area is that they are hole-nesting birds, and this African harrier hawk has been investigating some holes around here. And it's around about now that the starlings will start to breed, so perhaps they have a nest nearby. Now he's being allowed to sit there. And it's quite nice to see them out in the open like that. We don't often get them quite so out in the open. They're often hidden by the foliage. There he goes. Ooh, he's playing with fire here. Carla, this bird is about 2.5 feet tall. So about 70 centimeters or so. Yeah, look, he's found a little gap there. I wonder if those starlings haven't bred there. Let's just keep watching. Now, this bird will not be particularly affected by the mobbing of the starlings because he'll be used to it. They're not Birchall starlings, actually. They're Cape glossies, or greater blue-eared glossies. See how they're very clever. I mean, it's not particularly clever, but they know which side of the gene to attack. They stay away from the business end. They're being a wonderfully, wonderfully cooperative raptor, this chap. I'm sure that he's staying put because he knows there's something worth eating in one of these trees. You can see he's a fairly slow, ponderous flyer. You still see him there. Let me just sneak a little bit forward. And so when he's in the air, there's absolutely no danger at all for the bird doing the mobbing, so the starlings or the drongos. There he goes. Because he's much too slow to turn around and catch one of them in the air. I mean, should I go again, Paul? Quite a stunning sighting of this bird, I must say.
I cannot believe what I am seeing right now. This is an absolute first for me. White rhinos mating. Oh my word, I've got goosebumps. And there we go, just finished. Oh, we got to them just in time. How spectacular was that? So there's the female on the right, her calf in the middle, and a fairly large male, not particularly massive, but an older bull to the left who was just mating with her. And he would have been on top of her for quite some time. The male can rest up on the female for up to 10 minutes, even longer than that. And that is so exciting. I've been doing this for 8 years. I've always spoken about how I've always wanted to see rhinos mating. And there we are. Wow, I cannot believe that. So that calf, I'm surprised that this female is mating. From this distance, that calf does look quite young. But female rhinos will not let a male mate with them if they're not in estrus. So she was definitely in estrus. And so in around 16 months' time, that female, if they were successful, will give birth. That was incredible. You can actually see now, I thought the male wasn't that big, but when the female walked in front of him, you can notice the big size difference. You'll notice that there's no signs of aggression between him and her. Normally when a male comes in to court the female, which this male would have done, and he could have courted her for about 2 weeks before she allowed him to mate with her, she would be quite aggressive towards him, chasing him away. Every single time he approached the calf, she would chase him away from the calf. But now she's decided today is the day that they mate. And we got here just in time. Are you saying love is in the air? Yeah, I don't know if it's love, but yeah, it is most certainly very, very exciting. I doubt that we'll see them mate again now. Typically, rhinos don't mate very often. Sometimes they might even only mate once or just a couple of times in a day. A little bit different to lions and leopards who will mate every 20 minutes for about 3 or 4 days. The process of mating with rhinos is just drawn on by the male courting the female. Oh, he just shoved the calf there a little bit. You see how she reacted? I don't know why he just pushed the calf like that. Maybe hoping that the calf can move away so he can mate again. There we go. He's trying to shepherd the calf away. She's walking towards him. Let's see if he walks behind her to mate again. I don't think he will. But you never know. You see how the calf now has moved between the mother and the bull. He knows that, or it knows that the mother will protect the calf from the male. It wasn't a very aggressive shove by the male. It was just a bit of a move along, get out my way. And the female reacted very quickly to that. Apologies, I didn't get the name to that question. But a rhino will typically only have one calf at a time. And so their calving intervals will be about every 4 years or so. And in that time, she will only have one calf at a time. Now, it does also depend from area to area. So here on Pinde, where the grass is very rich in nutrients, you will find that females will go into estrus a little bit quicker than in other reserves. And so, on average, you're looking at anything between 5 to 10 calves in a female's life. It also does depend on whether the calf manages to get to an age of about 2-3 years before it gets kicked out. Let's say she gives birth and for some reason the calf dies from illness or from predation, she will go straight back into estrus again. But if the calf is successful When the calf's up anything between 1.5 years to 2.5 years old, she'll kick that calf out just before she gives birth again. So this poor little calf has probably another 14 months or so left with its mother, and then when she's just about to give birth, she'll kick that calf out because she'll be concerned that this calf, when it's older, might be a little bit of a threat towards her calf, her newborn, and then it would become what we call a satellite calf and often go look for another female with either an older calf or a group of older calves that have been kicked out recently, and just join up for protection and comfort.
And look what we have found. Oh my gosh, that's close. I don't think other places have such good views of cheetah. Phinda does. Pinda's renowned for cheetah as well. Yeah, maybe do a shot and then come across and then just leave it wide a bit.
I'm going to do exactly that. I'll come down
Yeah.
and then I'll push it.
Thank you so much, Put, for that email. I appreciate that.
We thought we were looking for some giraffe, and then the giraffe are now hiding from us, and then we saw some great wood hoopers that were on that end. And then they also there they are, discussing. So we're here at Chile Pan, and we said to these giraffe, please have a drink, it's on us. And then they decided no. So we're going to sit and wait and see if they feel comfortable enough to actually go and drink.
Yes, here we are. We've had that rain that was predicted, and it has come true. So we're just having a little bit of a drizzle. It's going to pass, but all in all, everything is good. Look at this. It's an amazing sight that I have here. The wildebeest have decided to head south slightly. I don't know how far they're going to go, and they are in their thousands over here. I see hundreds of thousands. This is typically the behavior that they do every day. What happens is they will move 2 kilometers back, then tomorrow do 3 kilometers forwards, then do 2 kilometers back the next day, and it is very typical of them to do this. Especially when it rains, they stop doing everything and just head back, and this is the case here. Just have a look. It's a beautiful scene that is set here by the wildebeest. They're coming off to my right. I have covered the vehicle to my right to stop the rain, so we cannot see that angle, but you can see they're coming off to the right, crossing the road and heading towards the marsh and across. And there is so many. Remember, continue to talk to us. #WildEarth. Question, comments are very, very welcome. Over there, as you can see, there is no rain, but can you hear the sound of the rain? Traditionally, we would have a bit of rain this time of the year, so it is okay. It is very okay to have rain, and it is much, much needed. This is the reason why these wildebeest are still here. and I don't know if to call it that they are confused or the rain is confusing them, because when they think when it rains, they think there is plenty of grass, and so they stick around for much longer. It is getting heavier, and the wildebeest are moving further. You can tell that their backs are getting wet now. I don't know how they're feeling after being in the heat all day. I'm sure it must feel really good. Usually when the rain gets too heavy and they have reached a destination where they think it is safe, they normally put their backs either towards the rain or their heads. I have seen both, and it is a time of day when the cats get really active, because I think the smell, their smell is masked by the rain, so the cats get very active. Remember, all these are part of the annual migrating herds. We normally don't have them this time of the year, but it is an added bonus. I'm really grateful that you're still here. You see the ones with the very pointy horns. Those ones were born earlier this year, and they are doing their first migration. Hopefully they will make it back so that they can say we have done one. Yes, the rain is getting slightly heavier here, and so I'm gonna stay here, see what happens. I hope somebody else is dry.
So many of our birds also migrate, just like the wildebeest, but this is one of our residents, and a very beautiful full one at that. This is a little bee-eater. It's a gorgeous one that's really showing off that bright blue eyeliner that it's got on. And it's a spectacular one. It's been sitting there for quite some time, and as you can see its head moving, it's looking for a little snack. Hi everyone, I'm Mike. Behind the camera is Seb, and you've joined us here at Eco Training's Pride Lands Conservancy. And yes, we're focusing on birds at the moment because the mammals seem to be hiding. I'm not sure what's going on, if there's a convention happening around here somewhere, but at least these little bee-eaters are really cute and really beautiful. There's one sitting right nicely over there out in the open. It keeps snapping up flies and then going back and catching them. And now you'll notice that they are very bright colors. And all of the bee-eaters have incredible coloration. And one of the sort of theories behind why they might have such bright colors is that those colors tend to attract insects. Many insects are attracted to bright colored flowers. So a bee eater like this, brightly colored sitting on a branch, might just attract an insect like a bee coming a bit closer to investigate, and then it can catch them on the wing. And they're incredibly agile flyers. Well, this one's now obviously been catching a lot of insects, and it wants to take a bit of time to preen itself just to make sure it's nice and clean, and also its feathers are nicely locked together so that it can catch things, because they have to be very agile as they fly. It seems to be focusing on one spot in particular. I wonder if it's not got a little itch right over there on that particular spot. But it's a very pretty bee-eater, and as the name suggests, it's one of our smallest. In fact, it is our smallest bee-eater, the little bee-eater. Now, they're not migrants like some of the others. The European bee-eaters have just arrived back to this area now. I'm not sure if you've all seen European bee-eaters yet at some of the other locations, but we have seen some, but we haven't been able to film any yet this season. But the little bee-eater is resident. However, it does have some local movements depending on rain and availability of food, of course. So we haven't really been seeing them that active until we just had these rains. And now all of a sudden, they're everywhere around us. Obviously snapping up all the little bugs that are now attracted to this area because of the flush of grass and a few flowers that are starting to pop out as well. So hopefully this is a sign of a great season to come. And there it goes, off to catch another insect, and then sit right next to its partner. There's two of them that are just sitting there. I don't know if, Seb, you'll be able to find that on the over there. They're sitting right close together. Now, this is quite common of little bee-eaters, and they'll often go and sit very close to each other, just over there, Seb. So they're quite common. They often go and sit right together next to each other, and sometimes you'll even see those very cute pictures with 7 or 8 of them all tucked up in a row.
It's a little gathering of bee-eaters is always a very amusing, pleasant and colourful experience. Here we are at the northeastern corner of Djuma at Biffle's Hook Waterhole, where a giraffe is, I think, supping upon the flowers of Capparis tomentosa, if I am not dreadfully mistaken. And they smell so good at the moment. I am dreadfully mistaken. He's eating a young torchwood tree. Now, the torchwood tree, all the fruits thereof, are toxic to us. Also, I've read parts of them are toxic to us. But clearly, the leaves are quite delicious to the giraffe. So he's lurking around the waterhole, hoping probably to have a drink a bit later once he's had some good greenthorn. And then we've got the usual suspects, the little pod of hippos that's taken up residence here. Every time I observe this relatively entertaining pod of hippos, which is now hiding under the water, I remember the world's most boring hippopotamus, Bob, who used to live here. Reggie, yes, giraffe will eat marula fruits. I've seen them eat them, but I haven't seen them kind of go crazy for them like I have elephants, obviously. But I've also seen impala and kudu and nyala go and pick them up and really enjoy them. But I haven't seen giraffe doing that. And I wonder if that isn't because they ripen on the ground and it's too much of an effort for the giraffes to pick them up off the ground. So they could take them from the trees, but they're not ripe in the trees. Now remember, there was a bit of mating going on here with the hippos. Was it yesterday or the day before? I can't remember. I think it was the day before. Anyway, there was the start of a repeat performance when we got here, but this is now obviously ceased. And then the last thing we'll have a look at is the little, very attractive gathering of terrapins on the far bank. They're having a lovely time in the sun after 6 days with no sun. And if we go to the right of those ones, there seems to be an expired one. Or perhaps, I'm not sure if it's dead or maybe just resting with its head slightly withdrawn. No, it's alive. It's just stuck its head out. There we are. Now all we need is a leopard to walk up and go. No. That's the water thickney calling. Very excited. We'll sit here for a little bit longer and then push on to see what else we can find.
So early on I said my goal was to come out into these areas and look for rhino. Little did I know, if you were watching 5 minutes ago, I was able to find some white rhinos busy mating, which is incredibly rare. And what we have right now is also very rare. We haven't just found one black rhino. We've in fact found 4 black rhinos. So there's this one that's busy standing up and moving off to the left. And then you'll see, quite tough to see in the grass there, there's another one standing up. So that's the second black rhino. And there's actually 2 more black rhinos just down to the right, a bit busy lying down of this one that's just stood up. It's not very often you see 4 black rhinos together. That is incredible. I could probably count on my hands the amount of times I've seen more than 3 black rhinos together. And so one of the dead giveaways as to why this is a black rhino, have a look at its head position. You see that its head's right upright, almost horizontal to its back, where if this was a white rhino, like we saw mating earlier, its head would be down to the ground. Now, they do have a fairly poor eyesight, and I'm sure that they are very aware of us, but this one was looking for its mother, I think. So that looks like an older calf. And then to the left of the one that's just started to walk off is, I'm sure, the calf of this one. And so it's a little bit nervous because of this wind. And I was just trying to see where Mom had walked off to. But I'll be very interested to see what these other 2 are to the right. They do both look fairly large, and I'm assuming it's probably 2 more females. You generally wouldn't see 2 adult male black rhinos lying together. Oh, there they go, trotting off. So because rhinos have very poor eyesight and a very good sense of hearing and smell, they do become very, very nervous in the wind. And I'm sure you can hear and at least see in the grass and the trees that the wind is blowing quite hard right now. And I think that's why those other 2 are trotting off. The female will also be slightly more nervous when she's got a calf, and she will feed off those her calf's nerves. If that calf is nervous, she'll be a little bit more nervous. But these other 2 that are busy lying down to the right, as I said earlier, I think are probably 2 adults, just judging by their size. And I'm busy looking at their skin. They've got very matted skin. And so I think that these rhinos have been rolling around in a mud wallow probably early this morning. They knew it was going to be a hot day, and so they'll go to a mud wallow. At the moment, it's not too difficult to find a mud wallow because we've had an exceptionally large amount of rain over the last couple of days. And they would have covered their skin in mud to protect it from the sun and any other parasites. Now, while I'm looking at these rhinos, I can see the mating pair of white rhinos behind me, so I'm also going to keep a good look out on them. Actually, maybe going to ask Craig to just pan around and have a look at the white rhinos. We might get lucky to see them mating again. If the male was successful, he typically won't mate, but you can imagine it's very difficult for a rhino to be successful while mating. They're fairly large. I think Craig's still just trying to find them. I can just see the top of their heads and their backs, a little bit more to the right there. Pan more to the right. And this male that's busy mating with the female, he's not going to leave her anytime soon. If he was successful, he's not just going to walk off, because he's not going to want another male to mate with the female. So typical, after they mate, the male will still stick around for about 5 days or so to ensure that another female doesn't head into this area. But I think what we're going to do, I'm going to stick around here for a bit longer, see if these 2 black rhinos behind me stand up, and maybe we'll get lucky again to see these 2 white rhinos mate.
Well, best of luck to that male. We have come into the west, currently sitting at Alfred Dam, and it's quite nice. We popped in, and there, right in front of you on the screen, are 6 hippos, all out of the water and all fast asleep. Right in the middle are 2 youngsters. So in between the 2 on the right and in between the 2 on the left are 2 youngsters. And the youngster further back actually has its head on the next youngster. It looks quite comfy. So I was saying to Odie that it's really not often, especially this time of the day, to see hippos out of the water. not on and beyond Ngala. So coming around the corner, having this nice little surprise was delightful, really. Which are very, very relaxed, which is why we parked so far away. We didn't want to spook them, didn't want to wake them up and then force them to go back into the water, which is something they would do. If they feel threatened. So maybe with the car engine or something like that, they'll go back into the water. Thank you everyone for welcoming me back. Very nice to be back. Also very special to be back on and beyond Ngala. Gorgeous place. This actually is probably one of my favorite spots to come spend the afternoon at. The sunset here is just spectacular. You can see when Odie is zooming out. What a special place. There's some female kudus now on the dam wall. Looks like they're going to walk across. I think they just ventured down very slowly for a drink. And it was actually quite interesting to watch. They would be very, very, very aware of everything around them. They don't want to head to the water too quickly. And you can see some of them now looking back. Might have heard something in this direction. Now one's looking at us. Some of the youngsters there as well. And a big male. Oh, he just came up the dam wall. Beautiful horns. Couple of oxpeckers landed on his back. Can't see from this distance whether they're red-billed or yellow-billed, but probably red-billed oxpeckers. Now you can see the bit of a breeze coming from the north, blowing south as it's whisking his beard to the left. So it's like a little family reunion. Which are a very, very peaceful spot here. Keeping an eye on us. Quite longish horns. He's in good shape. Yeah, pretty sure he'll follow the other kudus and go down the bank now. It's quite steep there. I think from here we might head, once he heads down the bank, we might leave them alone and go further south. See if we can find any sign of the Birmingham Pride. I've only seen them once since I've been back, so it would be quite nice to catch up with them.
I am going to move a little bit forward and see if I can catch any sight of our elephants here. It looked like there was a female and a calf and two younger individuals that were having a bit of a fight. Here's one of them. You just see them walking away. Look how wonderfully the bush is just glittering with the sunlight. It feels fairy tale-ish. The light is still a little bit harsh, but so pretty. Things are starting to dry up just a little. I mean, the mud on the roads, things like that. But all little pans are nice and full. There where we had the giraffes, that was Chele pan. And it has been dry for a number of weeks. Back when Steve and I were here, it dried up. And now it's full again. These elephants look like they might move up towards quarantine. Can you see some more? Oh, lovely. BK says he sees some more coming. They're coming through. Margie, you'd like to know where exactly is the elephant's ear hole? I will show it to you. Come on, little Ellie. Margie needs to see your ear hole. It's in the front, just like ours. And it's very close to, there we go. Very close there where the ear joins the side of the head. Now, because of the sheer size of the ear, it can be difficult to see, also because of the shadow that is cast in the actual hole. But it's there, right up against kind of like the elephant's sideburn, if elephants had sideburns. Maybe we'll get another look now. Come on. There we go. See where those hairs are? Those are extra sensory ears. That was a good look. That was a really good look. Yes, you did very well. Thank you for nodding. The back of the ear looks very much like our own because it does have a cup-like shape, despite the fact that it looks like it's scaffolding with a sheet thrown over because the edges are so thin and wispy, kind of look like fabric. But the back does have, or in the back it's much more obvious to see that there is a cup-like shape, and it looks very much like our own. I want to go up and try and catch up with them. They're slowly moving towards a quarantine, and the herd seems to be getting bigger and bigger, so I'd love to see them all out in the open space.
So I wish Trisha had good success when she's going to watch over those elephants. But here in the Mara we have a lion that is sleeping. It's beginning to rain, and I'm sure he will wake up. You can see his face and his front legs are covered with flies. Seems like he's been here for a little while. It was super hot during the day, and sometimes that is how we detect rain. It was so hot. We've seen lots of wildebeest walking to where the rain is raining, and I'm sure he will maybe be joining other lionesses in this pride here, because we are around the Mugoro Pride. See if he might accompany them, or maybe he's been walking up and around. Sometimes when lions have had enough food to eat, they can spend the entire day sleeping. But it seems like he's not eaten for maybe about 2 days. Despite having lots of game around here, sometimes these big males can have an advantage or not. Or despite them depending on lionesses for food, he can hunt on his own. So it's getting a little bit cold and cooler there, so he's much more enjoying. He's sound asleep because he's the apex predator, so he doesn't fear anything. So unless buffaloes come around this area, they'll be able to chase him away. But most of the animals, when they smell him or get the scent, they'll tend to walk away from here. If we look at the entire radius, there's no game at all. Seems like they've all picked the scent and moved off to a safer place. It's close to the bushes, so most of the animals, when they're walking, they avoid the bushes because at this time of the day, they can fall prey to the lions. I'm not quite sure who this male is. I'll only wait for him to wake up. So I'm going to stay here and wait for him to wake up because it's cooling down as we send you over to another safari vehicle.
So So this rhino sighting has got even better. Early on, I said that there was 4 black rhinos here. There's in fact actually 5. So these were the 2 that were busy lying down in the long grass, and I could just see their backs, and they were 2 adults as I thought. But then when they stood up, a tiny little rhino calf stood up behind this one that's to our right. So we've got a female and a calf to the right, and I suspect the one to the left is an adult male. And when they stood up, the male did approach them, and she got quite aggressive towards him, as black rhinos tend to be. They do tend to be a little bit more aggressive than the white rhinos, and she chased him around a bit. Now you'll notice this body behavior is very typical of a submissive rhino. So have a look how the male to the left is facing the female side on. So he's facing us, he's not facing the female. If he was facing the female, that would be more of a aggressive stance. So he's saying to the female, I'm here to fight, let's dance. But by facing sideways, he's saying, listen, I'm showing you my vulnerable side. So if you were to attack, you could badly injure me. So I'm submitting. I'm not here to harm you or your calf. Obviously, just like these white rhinos that we saw earlier mating, that's what he's here to do. The male's joined up with this female to see if he can mate. The calf that I saw was way too young for this female to even be thinking about mating, so I highly doubt she's an estrus. And then the other 2 rhino who ran off to the left, it also looked like a female and a calf, but that looked like a much older calf. That calf was probably about 1.5, 2 years old, so almost at the stage where that calf would be kicked out. So I suspect he's not with that female, because I'm guessing, I haven't been able to see properly because the grass is a little bit long and she's hiding behind a thicket now. I'm guessing that she is already pregnant, judging by the age of her calf. Now you'll notice when you look at this male that is facing towards us, I'm just going to ask Craig to pan off there. Have a look at his right ear. So our left, you'll see that it is extremely tattered. Now, black rhinos are territorials, and the males will fight with each other for territories. And that tear in the ear could have happened from another male who came into his territory, or could even happen from a female. He was bothering a female, hoping to mate. She decided that she had enough of him, and she chased him away. Now the other 2, you just can't see them, but they may be only about 20 meters to the left. It is so special and very unusual to see 5 rhinos together, 4 adults and 1 tiny little calf. There we go. You'll see how he started to back up a little bit. So as she started to walk towards him, she's probably thinking about maybe she wants to walk towards that other female and her older calf. And as she walked towards him, he started to backtrack. And that is also very typical submissive behavior. I can't see the calf yet. I think the calf is sticking very close to mom. The other 2 are facing these 2, so there's a little bit of tension in the air. Rachel, I couldn't agree with you more. Black rhino throughout Africa are very difficult to see. Of the 2 species that we get in southern Africa, there's probably about 20,000 white rhinos left, and a bit of an estimate around 3,000 to 5,000 black rhinos left. There you go, you can see the calf now a little bit to the right. And even in an area like Phinda, where we do have a healthy population of black rhino, we don't have a lot compared to white rhinos, nowhere near the numbers. They are generally more secretive. They are often in denser habitats because they are browsers, meaning they eat branches and leaves. And because they're in denser habitats, they tend to be a little bit more shy. And then so when they see us coming or hear us coming, they tend to trot off. So we've been incredibly fortunate to see 5 together. Often in a week of drives, when I'm out, if I see 5 individuals in a week, I'd regard that as a successful week of black rhino viewing. And here we have 5 together.
We're at the top now, watching these elephants. The sun is just so beautiful and the whole setting is so lovely. The green that's the green that's come up because of the rains, the grass and the vegetation have this gorgeous glow with the sunlight, and it makes for a complete picture with the elephants. Now, we were talking about the elephant's brain. I got a question this morning about the elephant's brain, the size of the elephant's brain, and it got me reading a little bit. And we said that the elephant's brain is about 5 kgs. That's about 3 to 4 times larger than our own. And I thought that they had the same amount of neurons that we do, but in fact they have more, which makes sense because they have a much larger brain. In fact, they have something like 250 something billion neurons in their brain, while we have 86 billion. So they have about 3 to 4 times more neurons in their brain than us, which makes sense because they have a brain that is 3 to 4 times larger than our own. So then why is it that our cognitive ability is greater than theirs? There's an interesting paper that I read. It was called The Elephant Brain in Numbers. And it talks about exactly that. And though they have a really well-developed brain, really well-developed frontal cortex that allows them to be, if I could say, emotionally receptive. You remember I told you how when you're in their presence, they're so aware of you and somehow they're communicating with you or about you in a way that I haven't experienced with other animals. But one of the major differences between our brain and theirs is where those neurons are. It seems that for elephants, about 97 to 98% of all those neurons are just found in the cerebellum. While the cerebral cortex, which is twice as big as our own, only holds about 1/3 of the number of neurons that ours does. Now, I don't expect you to be interested in those numbers or to remember those numbers, but what it does do is give you a good idea of how numbers are not everything. Like just because something is bigger than something else or smaller than something else, has more than something else does, that's not all that matters. What also matters is where those things are. And that was really interesting. Just to get that perspective. I have so much respect for elephants. I think that they are really, really special. Like all animals. Glenn, you'd like to know if elephants are picky eaters? Look at this. Oh, what a lovely moment. Turning into a little play fight. Glenn, they are picky eaters. Having that trunk with the finger-like protrusion allows them to be picky eaters. But they also need to eat in bulk. So they're not that picky, but when they want to be picky, they certainly can. They can pick just one leaf off of a tree if they feel like. Other times they may just feel like, I just need to fill my stomach. In the dry season, they'll sort of just eat and eat and eat. Even the things that look very dry, and they'll go after tree cambium that's in a layer of the bark. While in the wet season, they eat a lot more grass. They're also very picky drinkers. They like nice, clean water, and if they can help it, they will find that over any sort of muddy pan. And even though they would be thirsty, if they know that other water is nearby, they'd rather check out that water. Hello, little strong one. I love your swag coming past my car. Here comes the second one. Oh no, I'm surrounded. I'm surrounded. They have to learn from such a young age. Just awesome. Really, really nice.
From Elise to giraffes, and here we have a very good journey of giraffes. Looks like they are attentively looking at something, and that kind of posture and seriousness tells me that there could be a predator that is a threat to them, and that's why they're all keenly focusing onto it. Most of these here are girls, apart from the lone guy in the middle who is actually browsing. I don't see anything myself. There is another one ahead, and definitely there could be a predator here. We'll be investigating that. But definitely the body language tells me that there is something. This is the Maasai giraffe, one of the only ones we find here. And here they are at the corner of the marsh, busy browsing on those nicely fresh, green shoots of trees and shrubs. Definitely there is something. We'll be checking on that. Giraffes have got amazing eyesight, and with their height they have a good advantage, so they can see very far. In fact, they can see quite a long way because of their height. It's a very good advantage. Other animals usually take advantage of their body language to get away because it tells them that there is something. They don't make any vocalization, although they have some vocal cords. They don't make any noises. It's very, very rare that you hear them making, although it has been said that some people have heard them making a bleating kind of noise. And so myself, Lena Jumbo, you want to know how giraffes protect themselves from predators? Well, the first and the most important thing is sight. Detecting your danger, your threat, from a distance, diffuses any threat of them getting you. So they will use sight, and with their height, they are able to see quite fast. And if cornered, they can run very, very fast, high speeds of up to 50 to 60 kilometers an hour. And if actually they are jumped on, they can kick. And the kick is so lethal, it can kill or break a bone. So those are the mechanisms that they use to defend themselves: sight, smell, hearing, kicking, and running away. That's how they defend themselves. They are usually not really hunted because there is plenty of other animals, but you will find prides of lion that specialize in bringing down giraffes, and also hyenas try and outmaneuver females with young ones to get the young one. They're usually browsing all day, feeding for about 15 to 18 hours of a day, resting very briefly to regurgitate and chew their cud to properly utilize everything they have eaten. They can go for a very long time without drinking because they get all the moisture from the leaves. And here in the Mara, we have a very good number of them. It is estimated that we have less than around 100,000 all around the world. So they are very, very few. So they should be, actually protected. Yes, these guys surely see something. I cannot see it from where I am. And the best thing to do is to head there and investigate more. And while I do that, let's see what another safari vehicle is up to.
This is the half-ear female. She's just managed to uproot this tree. It was perfectly normal, minding its own business. Then she decided this was the silver cluster leaf that she wanted. And what was interesting is that she pushed it down lower to get to the leaves that she wanted, but she could still get to those leaves as she extended her trunk up. But as she was pushing and the ground underneath started to lift, she would take her trunk and touch around the bottom where it was lifting. I found that interesting because it was almost as if she was trying to figure out how much she had pushed it, whether it was enough to lift the roots like she's used to. And I also wonder if she pushed it down so that the smaller elephants could come to the leaves, even though she could reach it if she extended her trunk. She goes again. She just made it easier for these elephants to feed on that side. 1 minute ago, that was a perfectly intact tree. Perfectly intact. And just like that, she showed us her strength. It's really nice to see a start to finish of this process for the elephants, because so often we hear them doing it and then we can see it, but this time we were looking at them approaching this tree and she came straight to it and she said, this is a good one. Just pushed and pushed with her forehead. Oh, that was a shock of a radio interruption there. Roots of trees also have a stiff outer bark. And they'll still have to scrape off that outer bark to get to the juicy active layer of cells, the cambium. And that's the root right there. I had a question there about what age elephants, at what age they can uproot trees. Obviously it depends on the size of the tree, but pretty much as soon as the elephant is tall enough to create enough leverage to push over a tree. So for a youngster, if there's a small little tree, but they have enough height and leverage to push it over, then they will. Wow, really demolishing that root. And also when their weight is sufficient. So to find an elephant do what it just did to that silver cluster leaf to a leadwood, that's a tough find, because a leadwood tree is very dense. So you're looking for height, for leverage, and mass of the elephant compared to the mass of the tree. And as soon as the elephant has exceeded, not even exceeded the mass, but in conjunction with the leverage, is enough to push the tree over, then it can be done. So whether that's a small elephant and small tree, or a big elephant and a medium-sized or large tree. You'll see little calves doing it too. They see this behavior from the adults, and you see them try. But you'll find that the trees that they can push over are not strong enough. In their stem usually, or their trunk usually breaks. They're not strong enough yet to be able to pull the whole tree with the root up, as in the strength of the tree, because the trunk snaps with the push of the elephant. Relaxing M, you say a lumberjack elephant. Certainly, I think I heard it scream timber as it was about to fall. And that one on the right scooted away very quickly. The impalas also got a bit of a fright when the whole frenzy started. And a brief feed. The end of the tree, the silver cluster leaf. And off they'll go to find the next tree victim.
Remember, of course, that without the elephants preying upon the trees, the vegetation structure would be very different from what it is now, and probably a lot thicker. The giraffe don't have quite the same keystone effect on the ecology as the elephants, but they are no less impressive. And it's just so great having so many of them around. They will disappear again. We don't know where they'll go, but they will. And then we'll be done with them, and slowly they will get the odd question of, do you ever see giraffe here? And the answer will be, well, yes, we do. But sometimes they're just not around. He's a relatively short bull, this one. I think that's probably because he's still got some growing to do. And he's enjoying supping on Phalaenoptera violacea, or the apple leaf tree. I just like the sound of saying Phalaenoptera violacea. Sounds very fancy. If I was a giraffe, I would only eat Phalaenoptera violacea because there are no thorns thereupon. I've no doubt there are lots of defensive chemicals, however, that make it impossible to eat full time. Ian, I don't know how to answer that question. What is the strongest part of a giraffe? I don't know how to answer that. Do you mean which bit of the giraffe is able to exert the greatest amount of force? I suspect then one of the legs, probably the back leg. They can kick with their front legs as well. They can hit with their necks. But I don't know. Does that answer your question? I mean, its stomach is probably quite strong at digesting leaves. Its tongue is strong for pulling things off, but it's not as strong as its back leg because, well, it's much smaller, but proportionally it's probably stronger, and it's only one muscle, whereas the back leg, of course, is probably hundreds of muscles. So, tricky one to answer that one, Ian. Some of you saying that the neck is the strongest part of the giraffe. I won't dispute it. I just think it's a difficult question to answer because I think there are hundreds of different ways you could define it. The neck is definitely very strong. The heart muscles, exceptionally strong. This one is being relatively uncooperative in so much as it's standing right in a tree, basically. Good, well, that's about our 7th giraffe sighting for the day, which is absolutely wonderful. We'll carry on and see if we can find a leopard, maybe.
They're all over the place. I too have seen so many giraffes for the day. It's wonderful. We go weeks sometimes not seeing one. Everyone is still busy at this tree, which is nice to see. They looked like they were going to walk away, and they had a discussion, and then they said, no. Back here, we felt their rumbles. The silver cluster leaf is definitely not the tastiest of trees. The leaves have little hairs in them which make them reflect light very, very prettily. They almost look whitish. But I can't imagine that it makes it too palatable. They also have quite a lot of tannins. I've eaten a silver cluster leaf tree, not a tree, but a leaf before. And it is tanniny. Very, very tanniny. Oh, the wind's picking up. I wonder how her ear got like that. Half an ear and one tusk. You've been through a lot. Lots of experiences.
Sean and Tammy from Osbury, Green, Melbourne.
We've seen this girl quite a lot. There's a nice look at the opening of the ear canal there. Greyfield Elementary School. Hello, you guys. That rumble. You'd like to know how much an elephant can weigh. Well, males can weigh much more than females. Males can weigh up to 6 tons. That's 6,000 kgs. There, she's gotten herself a bit of root. Females weigh about half that size. At most about 4,000 kgs. Oh, look at that strength. Now she'll chew, chew, chew at the bark. You'll see it'll come out on the other side really pale. The best elephant sightings are the ones where you sit with them for a while and they become so comfortable with your presence that they decide to walk towards you and feed near you. Wow. Sinak, you'd like to know if elephants get skin diseases. That is an interesting question because, firstly, I'm not sure what diseases they can get. But I have seen elephants that look as if they've got too much moisture, like maybe some moisture that was trapped between the cracks of the skin somehow had some sort of bacteria in it and makes the skin look a little bit raw, not as tough, just in a little patch. And I have seen elephants that look like they have a little pimple on their trunk or two. But I'm not sure what types of skin diseases they can get. I've also seen dry patches, but those types of patches that look like they're scabbing, so from a wound. Sound that an elephant sighting are so precious, so powerful, and also so peaceful. It tells buffalo screaming in the background. This little one's head, you can see the little hairs. You'd like to know if elephants' tusks can ever get cavity-like decay. They can get infections in their tusks because, as you would know, because you asked the question the way you did, they're modified teeth, modified incisors. So they certainly can get infections, get decay. Oh, that's a good piece of fruit you found there. Wow, she's actually holding it between her trunk and her tusk. Can you see that? While she uses the tip of her trunk to feed on that bit, she's keeping that part of the root secured. Oh, that is amazing. You are a multitasker. And remember, she only has that one tusk. And it wasn't by mistake. She definitely meant that. It was... Oh. What a display of strength she's given us. As well as grace. This was really, really wonderful.
It's always wonderful watching elephants, and here we have two male lions that were sleeping in this rain. But it seems like one is not bothered at all by the rain, while this other one is cleaning himself. Seems like he might look for somewhere, at least this shade, where he can shelter from the rain. But as he keeps on cleaning himself, the other one is unmoved by the rain. It's a little bit windy, and I'm sure right about now he must wake up. Look at how he is using his front paws to clean himself. Like the way the wind is blowing on his mane, and how he's cleaning up. A typical behavior we witness in lions, especially in the evening after they've had a good day rest. They wake up, start yawning, then clean their faces, which is so interesting to see. We've seen lots of male lions around this area, so we are around the Mugoro Pride area. We've seen one of the male that was sleeping a little bit earlier. Now we come across these two brothers. They're of course not of the same pride, but they're from different area, so at least there's lots of food. And sometimes when you see a lot of wildebeest, a lot of animals around these plains, you find lots of males or lots of lions coming into the pride areas and walking up and about. They become optimistic sometimes when the pride females or lionesses get to kill. This male come in and chase them away and get to eat. And sometimes, because these two brothers are super strong and big, very much experienced, they will hunt on their own. Catherine, thank you so much for your comments. Indeed, I can't agree more. For your questions and comments, #WildEarth. Our young viewers, kids questions at wildearth.tv, and on the YouTube comment section at FC. That lion is doing a busy job cleaning himself. And because it looks like it's going to be a heavy rain, he'll definitely go out and shelter somewhere. As we wait for this other lion to wake up, see if he's going to groom himself, or if they're going to groom each other. Let's send you over to another safari vehicle.
If I were those lions, I'd head up onto the escarpment and spend some time at Angama. I think that's what I would do. Now, we have got some waterbuck. These waterbuck have no option to go up to Angama Mara because, of course, they live in the Western Kruger. And, in fact, the species doesn't even occur in the Masai Mara. They're very calmly feeding sort of quite close to the waterhole, but in the ecotone area. So they're in a thicket of silver cluster leaf trees, one like the poor old tree that was uprooted by the elephants with Trishala. And their very pleasant sort of horsey smell is drifting on to us. Smoky, horsey smell, which I really like. And very cleverly they're hanging around with some impalas, which will be able to warn them if something dastardly should come sneaking through the bushes. Now we're on Tswalu, which is the reserve south of Djuma, and nothing's been found here other than these waterbuck and the odd impala. So all quiet on the cat front out here for now. The smell is just gorgeous, especially mixed in as it is with the fresh grass smell. And one of the best smells that I've smelt this spring is that of Capparis tomentosa, or the woolly caper bush.
James, I'm not so sure about the waterbuck smell being delicious, but this is one animal who will use the scent of a waterbuck to be able to hunt them down, because waterbuck have a very strong scent on a strong wind like we have today. If there was some waterbuck walking 50, 100 meters upwind from this lioness, she would most certainly pick up on that scent. There's a little bit of a myth, though, that lions don't like to eat waterbuck. That smell that is generated from waterbuck comes from a gland that puts a little bit of an oil onto their coat. And there is an old wives' tale that says that lions do not like the taste of that scent, but it is most certainly not the case. A lioness or even a big male leopard, I've seen female leopards catching young waterbuck, but a male leopard catching a medium to larger waterbuck, and a female like this would most certainly grab the opportunity of a waterbuck if she could. But right now, I don't think hunting is the priority in her life. She's busy resting. Although people do talk about lions sleeping for about 20 hours of the day, they don't in fact sleep for about 20 hours of the day, they just rest. And it is a very tactical decision that they take. What's the point of walking around and wasting energy? So what she's busy doing now is gaining as much energy as she can. We've probably got about half an hour or so until the sun sets behind the Lebombo mountain range, and I am expecting a beautiful sunset today, and it is that time when she might get up and start to move around. When the sun starts to set, the animals are moving into these open areas to rest for the evening, and she might try to capitalize on animals like waterbuck, impala, inyala, moving from wherever they've been feeding into an area where they're going to sleep. So Fryfield Elementary School, you're asking, how do we get close to dangerous animals without getting hurt? Well, there's quite a lot of ways on how to do this. It is always important when we approach a dangerous animal like a lion, a leopard, an elephant, a rhino, we will watch their behavior and we approach slowly. We don't just come driving in very quickly, which could startle whatever that animal might be and could cause a negative reaction. For example, when I saw this lioness, we spotted her from about 300 meters away, and I drove around slowly, and as I got close to her, I just drove in slowly, letting her know that I'm coming, not by making a noise, but just by her hearing us come. And the fact that we're not coming in quickly, she knows then that we're not showing any signs of aggression towards her. And then I'd watch her behavior, and I'll drive closer and closer and closer. And if I see she was to pop her head up, stare at us, start to flick her tail from side to side, drop her ear down, and drop her head a little bit and start to snarl towards us, then I know that she's showing signs of aggression towards us, meaning that she's not happy with us, and I'd stop dead still. So it's very important when approaching dangerous animals, as you put it, to watch their behavior. Every animal has a unique sort of tell when they're unhappy. Earlier on, we saw both white and black rhino. What they'll often do is they'll curl their tail up and curl it forward. Then you'll know that they're not happy. A black rhino will make a sound like when they're a bit agitated. A elephant will stick its tail straight out when it's feeling a little bit nervous or edgy, or it'll lift its head up high and open up its ears. A leopard will do very similar behavior to a lion, with pinning the ears back, snarling, flicking the tail. And if you were to see that behavior, it's always best to stop and back up. If they continue to snarl, then you still know that you're too close. Then reverse and get to a distance where they feel comfortable. Now, we're very fortunate in these areas where we show you these animals. They are very accustomed to us being here. So, Miley, I'm not 100% sure where the rest of this female's pride is. We've had quite a lot of rain over the last couple of days, and when it rains in this area, we actually can't drive here. It's got an area or type of soil known as black cotton soil. You might notice off in the distance there's a road there that's very dark, and when we have over 10 mils of rain, we cannot drive here. And so yesterday afternoon and this morning was pretty much the first time we could drive in this area. So I'm not too sure where the rest of her pride is. This female is part of a pride of 3 adult females, so turn 2 other females, and then 2 adult males. The rest could be not too far off. One of the females does have cubs. I don't think it is this female. I was trying to have a look now to see if she's still lactating. And so that female is probably still with her youngster. She doesn't join up with the pride too often. And for all we know, maybe this female sister's busy mating with the dominant males of this pride. This female and her sister are around the stage now where she and her sister should be mating.
We have come to Chitwa Waterhole, and there is an enormous crocodilo, probably one of the 2 that live here. Yes, I think this one is missing the end of its tail, and I forget what are the 2 names that Brent gave them? One was Bricktop and the other was I've forgotten what the other one was. Anyway, this one's the one without the tip of its tail. Or her tail. Haven't seen them here for a while, and that's not to say they haven't been here. Remember that. As I always say, it is very dangerous to ever assume that there is nothing crocodile-wise in any body of water in Africa. Vlad and Morris. Vlad and Morris. I thought we called one Bricktop. All right. Vlad the Impaler and Morris. Boris, that's right. Okay, it wasn't Bricktop. It was Morris. Boris and Vlad the Impaler. And I forget which one lost its tail. I think it was Vlad. But that's a 50% guess. There's some deeply irritated guinea fowl just behind us. And I'm just making sure that there isn't a leopard attacking them. What a beautiful evening, eh? Just stunning, especially after the sort of grey, dull ones that we've had over the last little while. Right, on we'll go from here and see if we can find out what's causing the consternation with those guinea fowl.
Okay, we are following this lioness that is hunting, and she's in front of me, very, very desperate. She's actually trotting. Looks like she's really in need of something. I just feel sorry for her. There is plenty of game, but being a lioness is not always that easy. Being a lion, being a predator is super difficult. It's not what we always imagine. Everybody is aware that you're going to eat them, and so they're very aware. They're always trying to get away from you. And for her, it's today or never. It's do or die. You can tell she's trotting. I'm gonna try and stop slightly so Bungei can share with you how she's moving. She's really like trying to catch up to where the wildebeest are. She's a long way in front of the vehicle. There she is, you see, she's running. Yeah, that's how desperate she is. She's actually trying to run before it's dark, to get to where the wildebeest and zebra are. And I'm trying to catch up with her so that I don't miss any action. Nobody's chasing her. We're quite a distance away, but she really wants to get, to get to where this game is, and she needs to eat. It's today or never. The other girls are back. They can take care of the, young ones, the young cubs, and she can find something. It's raining. It's quite difficult, but we're gonna try and catch up once again. Catch up with her. She's moving very fast. You have to be very careful not to lose her, because if she goes off the road, then it means she's in the long grass and I won't be able to see her. Actually, I cannot see her anymore. She's not on the road. I don't know which way she went. I cannot see her. Yes, there she is. I see her now. She's in front of me. I don't know what she sees, but looks like she's stalking. I'm gonna stop here so that, I'm gonna stop here so we can see what she's stalking. It looks like, she's walking very low. And actually, this is a perfect place. This is a perfect place. Damian Jumbo, you ask if lions can hunt well in this weather. This is the best weather. They can never ask for any better weather than this. All the animals usually stay still. There is some zebra and wildebeest off to the right, and she is here. They're going to come onto the screen soon. You're going to see them. Doesn't mean they're very close. They're quite a distance away, but we're going to share them with you. They're right there. So those are the wildebeest. And looks like they're starting to move, which means they won't pay much attention, and it might happen any time. Yeah. She's crouching. You can see her there. She might go and ambush and wait for them to cross this way. And in that sense, she will definitely, actually make a kill. I'm gonna try and move closer, but keep a distance so that we don't disturb her. Let her do her own thing. So let's move ahead. It's a very tense moment because I don't want to disturb her. She really needs to eat, so I have to keep that distance. At the same time, let her do her own thing naturally. She's quite a way ahead. She's stalking, but she's moving, following the road. There is a little bit of a rise to the right, so they cannot see her from where she is, and it is perfect. So I'm gonna stop here once again, and so we can observe from here for a little bit and see what she's doing. Actually, she's a very long way from me. You see Abungay? She's a long way down the road, very long way. There she is. You see, she's still crouching. She's on her haunches, and it is a very good spot she's in because the wildebeest are walking towards her from right to left, and I think she's going to ambush them, within that area there. Yeah, she's trying to position in the most perfect spot. Yeah, the wildebeest, where are they? Oh, they're somewhere up there. Are they moving to the left? Let's have a look. Yes, it looks like they're just milling around, which is the positive side of being a lioness this time. You want your enemy not to be watching where you are. And where is she? She's somewhere up there. I don't know if we still got her. Yeah, there she is. Now she's seated, and now she has to figure out what is the best for her. Is it to wait for them to come and cross the road, or either to follow them deep towards where they are? I'm not gonna suggest anything. I'm just gonna leave her to do her own thing. Looks like she might decide to leave the road and move towards the grass. Let's try and move slightly closer. We're quite a long way, so we won't disturb her. Don't you worry. Let's try and move closer. It's that time which is perfect for her to hunt because the cover is really good. It is getting dark, but her eyesight is really, really good. She can see even around 100 meters really, really well. It's like daylight for her. So from where she is, I think she can see. I'm gonna park here again and see what she's doing. Okay, let's try and find her. Yeah, she moved a very long way. She's way up on the road. You see her? She's heading up. Yeah, I think she's trying to have the best possible spot. So when the wildebeest turn around, yes, I'm saying that she's trying to get the most best possible spot so that when they come crossing, she'll have a 99% chance of getting one. And you can tell she's very experienced. She hasn't moved towards them. She just wants to be on the road, wait for them to come. And right now, it's a matter of survival. She doesn't want to lose this chance. The wildebeest are just there. I don't think they know she's there. Do they? No, they don't. The zebras are there, toppies, everybody's here. And I don't think anybody knows that she's here. So, where is she? She's somewhere there. We can't see her. Yeah, is that her? I can't see her anywhere, but she's in that spot somewhere. I don't know if she left the track to start stalking off to the right. Yeah, I cannot see her at all, but she's somewhere up the road. I don't know if she left towards the right to start stalking. If she did that, then there is enough cover for her. There's some few shrubs and bushes, which also could increase her chance of getting something. Let's try and move closer once more. It is very exciting. I hope you're still there. Continue to talk to us. #WildEarth. Questions and comments are really, really welcome. But I'm going to try and find her as soon as I can so that I don't interfere with this hunt. Well, the wildebeest are stampeding, and I think this is what she wanted. They are running towards the road. I don't know where she is, but they're coming towards the road. I don't know which area they're going to cross, and I don't see her, so I'm going to continue going up because I think she's very smart. She followed the road up. Keith Jumbo, you ask how fast can a lion run? She can run about 60 kilometers an hour. Looks like everything has broken loose. I don't know if she went there and got one or where she is. I cannot see her. Yeah, we cannot see her. Enda. So. Sorry, I was trying to tell the other vehicle to leave. They were asking permission to come. Yeah, there was a little bit of traffic behind me, and they were asking for permission to pass, and I wasn't stopping them. They have just gone. We have the authority to stay, or permission to stay a little bit longer out here, so That's why everybody is in a rush to leave. I don't know where she is. Do you see her, Bungay? Anywhere? I don't see her. Okay, I'm gonna continue looking for her, and while I do that, let's take you somewhere else.
Sounds like quite a lot of excitement up in the Mara with Isaac and a lioness on the hunt. Unfortunately, this female still has absolutely no desire to do anything. She's not even enjoying the beautiful sunset that we have at the moment. Most certainly one of my most favorite parts of the afternoon and evening is this time of the day when the sun starts to set over the Lebombo mountain range. And something that I always hope will happen is that one of the trees that sits below the sunset would have a leopard climbing up into the tree, and that would be one incredible silhouette shot. I think I would settle even with a bird, a big vulture or an eagle sitting at the top of one of those trees. But it is a dream photo for me to have a leopard in a dead tree and the sun rising or setting directly behind it. Do let me know. So send some comments in if any of you have ever experienced that in the wild. I've ticked off a bucket list already today. Rhinos mating. And so it would be a little bit too greedy of me to ask for a leopard in one of those dead trees. But why not? One can only wish. It is most certainly a postcard setting at the moment. Unfortunately, we'd often hear quite a bit of birds this time of the evening. Some of the nocturnal birds starting to wake up, like the nightjars, and then some of the diurnal birds giving off their last bit of territorial calls or looking for their mates. But unfortunately, with the amount of wind that we have now, I think all the birds are tucked away in the thickets. Isn't that just spectacular? And I'm sure tomorrow morning, if we look towards the east, we might have just as beautiful of a sunrise that rises over the ocean that is off to our east at the moment. But sadly, this lioness isn't enjoying the sunset. She's still got her head flat to the ground and has absolutely no desire to get moving. She's very unlikely to get up and just start to walk in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Something that she'll do is she'll start to groom and yawn. That process of yawning just to get a little bit of more oxygen into her system and through her blood, which will help wake her up. Groom her paws, her cheeks, and then she might then set off. Looking at her belly, she doesn't look too hungry, so she does have a pretty full belly. She's not panting, which is something you would expect from a lion that has fed recently. You'll see it's a very steady breath. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. So normally when they have fed over the last 24 hours, their body is trying to digest that raw meat, and so that uses lots of energy, and so internally she would be overheating and should be panting very heavily to cool down. So I don't think she's fed today or maybe even yesterday, but she has fed recently and probably on something quite large that she's still got somewhat of a belly. But that doesn't mean she won't take the opportunity to hunt. So if there is a good opportunity, she'll grab it, but she's not going to waste energy going to look for something if she's not hungry. But this female is in spectacular condition. You'll notice, and it is because of a very good diet, her coat is in pristine condition. Not a lot of scars, and that is because she's in a smaller pride. So had she been in a larger pride, you'll find that they will be far more aggressive around kills and with each other, and so they would fight for whatever meat is left. But because she's one of 3 females and 2 males, you typically don't see too much fighting with these females. And that is why you'll see lack of scarring on her face, which is the very typical area where she would have scarring if she was fighting with members of her pride over a kill.
Hello guys, I am checking out the Gallagher Shortcut Den site just to have a look. It's just off to my south here. But nobody is home. That's a shame, although there's a bone here. That's a good indicator. This is a very, very nice den. I feel like it's got lots of things for little ones to play with. But we haven't seen our hyenas in a while. Hopefully that means that tomorrow it'll be a hyena day. See what I did there? Hyena day. Thank you, thank you. All right, let's drive around and see if there may be lying up nearby. Look how green and lush it is. Makes off-roading just a little bit more difficult. Nope. Don't see anybody. Okay, so I've checked the area. I've checked our Noble Den. I've checked this one, both this morning and this afternoon, as well as the freshly dug one that is near our camp. And then this morning I also went past the Shibamo Road one. So we just have to keep checking. That is the only solution. We can also go through and check Gwen's old den on the southern boundary. Everything's been so overgrown. When people don't use it for a long time, the parts. There we go. But we'll also listen out, especially tonight, in our rooms, for some sort of indicator, or at least of direction and their movements. Ooh, you look dangerously close to my face. There we go. Okay. We will head out now. I'm a little bit disappointed. Well, that's okay. I'm sure that everybody is fine. Careful there. The problem with the thick grass is that you can't see the logs very well. Whew. But we made it through. All right, we've done what we need to do. We've checked the dens. And tonight I'll listen out especially for the whooping of the hyenas.
So we are sitting here with the first sunset we've seen in what feels like forever, and it is a spectacular one. It's a gorgeous orange sunset happening. We just thought we'd take this time. We heard that we haven't seen one for a while. We were thinking about, what does this mean for us? Does it mean that there's going to be a change in some of the animals' behavior? We're actually on our way over to that hyena den to see if there's anything happening over there, but on our way, we just couldn't drive past this gorgeous view without stopping and appreciating it. And look how fast it happens. You can literally see it sinking below that horizon. Just the quiet sounds of the evening start to settle in. The birds are announcing their resting places for the night, and any predators might start to call just to announce their intentions. We were sitting at Leopard Dam earlier, and one of the other vehicles, I have news for you, one of the other vehicles did manage to spot Pixie Pan female and her 2 cubs. We couldn't get a visual. She moved into a very, very thick drainage line, so we'll try again, hopefully, a little bit later, maybe even tomorrow. But it's wonderful that she's still around with both of her cubs still happy and healthy. In fact, one of them actually caught a squirrel, so I heard, which is very exciting. Look at that fireball disappearing on the horizon. It feels like we literally just got here and it just disappearing so quickly. It's coming towards the summer now, so the sun obviously does move, or seems to move a lot quicker because it's going directly over our heads and down. It doesn't slide across the horizon. Not much longer to go before those last warming rays disappear below the horizon, and we'll be set in for what will probably be quite a cold night. It will be interesting to see on these cold evenings whether the calls do travel much further. Oh, it looks like a Halloween view. Oh, well, Halloween, summer. Oh, it is Halloween, isn't it? I actually forget. Out in the bush here, we always forget. Fantastic. Well, it is a bit of a Halloween view. Watching that moon slip. Oh, sorry, the sun slip below the horizon with the mountains just obscured by some clouds. Gorgeous. What a way to start an evening. Hopefully, this is a sign of fantastic things to come. Well, we're going to keep heading towards that hyena den, and hopefully as this sun dips below the horizon, or as it has dipped below the horizon, we're going to head over to that den and see if any of those youngsters are out and about. We haven't heard them calling yet, but hopefully with this nice cool evening, their calls will be able to travel much further, and they will be a loud night. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. Euquelia is also flying past and settling in around this big open clearing. This is called Zebra Clearing, and it's right opposite the road from our eco-training camp, and we often hear animals vocalizing from this very clearing, especially on these cool evenings and on the cool morning tomorrow, because those calls will travel an incredible distance in these open spaces. As you saw that hyena, in this open area with its head down like that, calling to the ground, reverberating up and sending that information across the whole savannah. Oh, that group of impalas is still here in this clearing. I wonder if they've seen the hyenas yet this evening.
The hyenas? Hello! I was mid-teasing the FC about how they say hyena, because they all say it differently. All of our directors. Anyway, while we're driving along, I can tell you that 2 things. First of all, that the eastern side of Djuma is bereft of mammal life, so we're going to go towards the west. The second is that an incident has just occurred to me, where an incident of such a nature that I am able to explain the incident, and in so doing teach you how to speak like a South African, or like an English-speaking South African. And what happened was a flower flew into my eye, and I hope that it dies. because it flew into my eye. And my eye's watering now because of the flower that flew into it. Here's a zebra and a kudu. Oh, the flower had some kind of chemical in its belly that's not agreeing with my eye. There we are. Kudu and zebra. Oh, and one of them now relieving itself. Oh, and it's so nice. You can hear the frogs calling now. Crickets. I even heard a brown-backed tree frog. And we've just had the very first sunset in, 6 to 8 days? It's lovely to see. Probably means tomorrow will be a bit of a stinker. St. Paul panned slowly to the left so the zebras were escaping from his field of view. And they are loving this particular piece of ground because it was burnt. And it was burnt for a fire break. And so it's cleared off all the dead stuff. And the little bit of moisture means that the grass is already very, very green. Much greener than it is away from the unburnt areas. Hear the red-crested korhaan. And on we go, into the night.
We've got the hyena den, and look, there's a beautiful hyena without spots sitting on top of this termite mound. I think that's actually a warthog we know. I think that might be Listen Linda, the one-eared warthog. Does it have a second ear? Maybe it does, but the short ear. Right now it's looking at a hyena. There is a hyena on the other side of that termite mound right now. We just saw it a moment ago. This is the weirdest thing. I've never experienced anything like this. This is a small warthog. This is a female, and she's not even that big. She could easily be food for a hyena. Easily. Especially if there's 2 or 3 big hyenas here. Yet she seems relatively unperturbed. I mean, clearly, checking carefully that there's no danger, but, I mean, that's a den shared by 2 different animals. There's a warthog that's about to go on one side, and the hyena that's on the other side. And they're, not even worried at all about it. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay, well, listen, Linda seems to have come to her senses, so that's my hat, have come to her senses and decided that she needs to move on and try a different den maybe, but, man, that was the weirdest thing ever. So there you can see the den's just there. We're very close to it, but on this side that we can see, where Seb and I were just saying, we need to try and see if we can, because this looks like a fairly well-established den site, we need to try and see if we can make a way or a path that goes to the other side, because it seems like the hyenas are more actively using the holes on the opposite side of this den. The holes on this side, as you can see, we've seen the hyenas go in them before, but it looks like the warthogs are maybe using this side more, and so the hyenas are not really wanting to go in there, because there'll be conflict. That big warthog we saw yesterday was massive, and he can do some serious damage. This smaller warthog we saw, this one that's affectionately known Listen Linda, because she's only got one ear, she's very small, and so she wouldn't be too much of a threat to the hyenas. Oh, she's back. What are you going to do? What's the decision? Where's she going to go? Okay, so there's a hole there right where she's sniffing. So now we don't know, are all these entrances connected, or is this a separate burrow? Or is she feeding? I can't tell, it's so strange. So strange, but you can see the short ear there on the left side of her head. So that is an ear that's been either bitten off or maybe in a fight or something. I'm not sure, female warthogs don't fight that often, but it's mostly, it's going to the big hole. She's claiming the main den as her own. Such a brave warthog. I tell you, if there was an animal whose bite force is among the most powerful of all land mammals, I would not want to even think about living in a den so close to theirs. I wonder who was here first. Well, I think the warthogs must have been here first, because the hyenas have been denning on other spots, and we think this female's just moved here. It's so weird, because there's about 5 or 6 termite mounds that I can see from where I'm sitting right now, and almost all of them have big burrows in them. Why the hyenas chose this particular mound with a warthog that's living inside is beyond me, and why they don't just move to a different one is also beyond me. Unless she's already given birth in this den and does not want to move the young cubs. It could be that. Peter, warthogs are not known to be particularly aggressive, but they are very good at defending themselves. And so, a big male warthog like the one we saw yesterday is not really hunted by many things except very, very old and powerful leopards and lions. You wouldn't almost never see a cheetah trying to catch a warthog, because a warthog is almost as heavy as a cheetah and can easily... There's the hyena. He's just got his head over the mound. Look at that. That's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. The warthog's being very still now. There's a confusion. So that hyena, I can't tell if that's the big one or one of the younger ones. I think that's the big one we saw yesterday with the very big belly. You see there's a chunk out of the ear there. So I think that is... Oh, the big male warthog's come out now. What kind of craziness? Look at this. So I don't know if the warthogs have even seen this hyena yet. The wind is blowing not in the right direction, so the hyena probably smelt or heard the warthogs, but the warthogs have no idea that the hyena is even there yet. Oh, the male is doing his rounds. He's very big. So, Peter, this male warthog here is incredibly powerful. There's not many things. Even a leopard would think twice before trying to catch this warthog, because those tusks are incredibly sharp, but they wouldn't normally attack anything unless they were under a direct threat. So you can see the female, Listen Linda, is very close to this hyena. I'm certain she must be able to see it. I mean, they've got pretty good eyesight. It's not terrible. Look at this. Look. It's a face-off. Okay, there's no chance that she doesn't see it now. I mean, that's crazy. Are they friends? What the? The hyena's just lying down now. This has got to be... I mean, surely for you all at home, this is a first, surely. It's a first for me, and I've been guiding for more than 10 years now. And I've never seen anything like this. So now the male warthog has just disappeared to the other side of the mound. Let's see what happens to these hyenas. Oh, the warthog is coming. I just see the hyena's back. I can hear heavy sniffing sounds. I don't want to start the car. I know we can't see what's happening on the side, but if I start the car now and move forward, we'll end up disturbing this behavior that's happening. So this female, here comes the male warthog back around the left side. He just went over there, laid down the law, gave the hyenas an earful, and now he's on his way back. It's almost like he doesn't even need to show off his strength, and that's how powerful they are. A hyena, a clan of hyenas, are probably the second most powerful. What on earth is Listen Linda doing? She's just... Her hole is up there. Do you see that? She just ran forward and quickly disappeared into a hole on the top of the mound. The hyena is just sitting there. This is madness. I mean, it's a testament to how tough warthogs are. I mean, hyenas are the second most powerful predator in the African savanna, and these warthogs are just, cautious, but not overly worried about the fact that they're there. What's this one going to do? Because he came out of a burrow that's at the foot of this termite mound. So is this warthog now going to go and follow the female, or is he going to find a different hole? It's an impressive male warthog. You see, he's got... How I know he's a male is because he's got these two sets of warts, one by the eyes and one on the snout. So those two sets help to defend his eyes when he's fighting, so that the tusks of another warthog don't injure his eyes or his face. Look at he's raised. Do you see how he's raised the mane on his back to make him look larger than he is? Now this warthog, I think, can probably weigh... I would be estimating here, but maybe over 50, 60 kilograms, maybe even up to 70 kilograms. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they are heavier than they look and very, very muscular. Do you see that? The shoulders and the neck is very thick, and his flanks as well. He hasn't got a lot of fur, but he's going to follow her into the burrow that she was in. Now she reversed herself in, so she could rush out if she senses danger. Let's see what this warthog does. Is he also going to reverse in? Elizabeth, I agree. This is totally weird. Although maybe it's just not that we haven't seen it before. I mean, we often hear, Elizabeth, that animals use termite mounds at different times. So you would say porcupine, using it at night, and a warthog using it during the day, or vice versa, or, what these kind of things. So... a porcupine using it in the day, or warthog at night. So it probably happens more often than we think, but it's just so rare to actually witness. So it's crazy. So again, it shows that in nature, it's not automatic that a predator is going to kill or hunt a herbivore or a prey animal. If the predator is not hungry or not in the mood to hunt or anything like that, there's probably some very clear communication that happens. There goes the warthog reversing itself into that burrow. There must be some clear communication that happens to each other to say, you don't need to be overly afraid, don't freak out and use energy, don't make lots of noise and disturb me because I'm not going to hunt you. I mean, there's got to be, right? Why else would a major carnivore allow a herbivore or vice versa? This is madness. Well, it looks like the warthogs are safely tucked away now in that burrow. How weird was that? That was literally, for me, the weirdest thing I've seen. I thought yesterday was weird when the warthog just ran out and then went back in. Now we literally saw them face to face, not even chasing each other or anything, just literally walking around, avoiding each other, and then letting each other go into the mound. He's back. The warthog male is back at the entrance, just having a last look. How amazing.
So we managed to find a very beautiful male lion, one of the Bayala males. And earlier on I was talking about reading animals' behavior and being able to get close to a predator by watching its behavior and seeing when it's aggressive. And I was actually able to find this lion by watching the behavior of impalas. They weren't alarm calling, but I saw 3 or 4 of them just staring and looking into a thicket. And so I turned off, and as I turned off, I heard the last bit of a roar. So I'm sure you've all heard lions roar before. It's and then the last little grunt, is what I heard as I turned the vehicle off, and we stopped and we waited, and out of the thicket appeared this male. And he has been walking up till this point. He's just laying down, so we've had him roaring, we've had him scent marking, so we know that he is most certainly on a territorial patrol. And it is very typical for a male lion to be on a territorial patrol after the last week that we've had. So we've had quite a lot of rain here, probably around 50-60 mils of rain in this area, and that would have washed away all the scent that this male and his brother would have put in his territory. And so that's probably what he's up to. I don't know what his brother's up to at the moment, but I'm hoping he's not going to lie down for too much longer. It's a lot of fun watching male lions on their territorial patrol. They generally cover quite a lot of distance. You'll hear them roar quite a bit, and that roaring would be to ward off any other males that's in the area. You might watch him spray some urine onto leaves. They brush their head up against branches, sometimes even climb a little bit into the tree, or stand up on their back feet more so than climb, and rub their scent of their glands that's close to their eyes into the tree, and occasionally will even claw into the tree. And that is not only a way of sharpening their claws and strengthening their tendons, but it's also a way of marking their territory. But he is most certainly a fine specimen, pretty much in the prime of his life. So Viking, male and female lions will live for a different period of time. So males typically live for about 12 years. You know, you will sometimes find a male living a little bit longer than that, up to about 14 years. They won't often live much longer than that, and that is just because the fierce competition that they have with other male lions. And around 10 years old, 10, 12 years old, they would be kicked out of the pride, and therefore they'll have to fend for themselves. And so they've got the competition of other males in the areas, and sometimes even large groups of hyenas will give them a hard time. Females, on average, about 16 years. I have seen a female lioness in the Sabi Sands where I used to work, which was around 18 years. But in captivity, they can typically live for about 20, 22 years. But that's under very good conditions where they're being well fed. This male at the moment, he's about 7 years old this year. So he's still got quite a few years left, and particularly of being a dominant male in this area.
We have got elephants. That is obvious from the picture you can see. They have been drinking at the waterhole in front of camp and at the dam cam. And now they're kind of moving off, but they're just having a little drink, or at least feed, along with the green vegetation that fringes the dam. And we were right on the dam wall. We've just kind of moved off it so that they can have some space to go past if they want to. If they do come past, they'll be pretty close to us. But I think from my interpretation of the matriarch's body language that they're totally relaxed, so I'm not worried about that. This is the same cow that Trishala had earlier. She's got only one tusk and half an ear. And she's just doing some furniture removal now. And there's a very good reason for that, and that is that the grass underneath those buffalo thorn branches grows nice and thick and green, because very few animals will try and move it out the way. Just having a little conversation with each other. If you can hear people talking, it's inside Djuma camp. I always find the sounds of camps at night quite comforting. And someone is being harangued thoroughly, and Paul reckons the wrong oil was used in the cooking. Doris, again, I don't really know how to answer that question. What do you mean by travel? They don't migrate, so they move every day, and they might be in an area like this. I'm just going to lower my voice slightly. They might be in an area like this for a couple of weeks, and then they'll move on to another area, and then come back a week or two later, or a month later. And, yeah, so it just, I guess, if I'm interpreting your question correctly, they'll move whenever the resources where they are depleted, or if the trees are starting to produce too many chemical toxins and that sort of thing, then they'll move off. And then they'll come back later. But they don't migrate like the wildebeest of the Maradu. She's just having a little interaction with us now, actually. Making sure that the rest of her herd can get away, or has got away unharmed, which of course they have. Good evening, my dear. So nice. Splendid atmosphere of the early summer, the elephants, the frogs, and the birds. Just perfect.
Hyena! Hip hip hooray! They're not all gone. I think one was seen on the dam cam too. So I'm glad about that. Of course, they're not all gone. They're somewhere. I'm not sure who this is. Hasn't gotten up for me. And I am very close, actually, to the gate. I am near Sandy Patch, even further west of Sandy Patch. I thought, so we had a quick look around once we saw the hyena here, and then we thought maybe there is a kill nearby. So we sat here and listened for a little bit, but unfortunately, no luck. At least not just yet. As for that sighting with the hyena and a warthog, I was just getting the update. That is unlikely Animal Friends material, that is. And that was just, sounded amazing. I'll have to go back and watch the footage. Trying to just take a few pauses so I can listen. Maybe I'm hearing crunching, feeding, something like that, but I'm hearing nothing. It is just peaceful silence as the darkness sets upon Djuma. And our hyena's eyes have now closed. Oh, What's gotten your attention? Leanne, you'd like to know if hyenas are active at night? Most certainly. We hear them at night all the time. I'd say they're active most of the day, actually, although during the day, like all predators, they do get tired, and they can get very tired in the sun, actually, quite sleepy, and you'll find them around den sites, so you'll find them sitting up like this, in the middle of nowhere, where they can just have a quiet moment and relax. But in the evenings, they are very, very active. They're around camp. You hear them whooping, you hear them giggling, making all sorts of sounds. And that's very likely when they're doing all their hunting. Although the one time that I did see a hyena hunt myself, it was very early in the morning. It was about 5 a.m. Might have been just a tad earlier as well. Nope, not hearing anything. Well, maybe this one is just taking some time off to the west where we don't really see them to relax. Well, tomorrow morning, I hope that'll mean that we'll be lucky with the dens. I was listening out to the birds. I hope there is a leopard nearby, but I haven't seen any tracks and I haven't heard any alarm calls. I just saw in fact, I noticed this hyena because the impala was staring at it, but no alarm calls that would indicate a leopard. All right, well, we're going to leave it be, and we're going to slowly head towards camp.
I would love to know which hyena that is, because I don't know where they've all gone or why they've decided to disperse like they have. But I'm hoping that over the next few days we'll unravel the mystery. Anyway, I'm glad Tashala has managed to find a hyena, whichever one it is, whichever member of our clan. I have managed to find not much, except a stink. Can you smell that, Mpho? It smells like rotting mothballs. That is the smell of Gymnosporia buxifolia flowers. Disgusting things. Try and find you a Gymnosporia tree. Their flowers are offensive, to say the least. Only at night. In the day, you don't smell them. So they must be pollinated by some kind of nocturnal insect. It's another nice name for a tree like Philonoptera violacea. Gymnosporia buxifolia. I think if I am blessed with a son one day, I shall call him Gymnosporia buxifolia. And then another name, maybe Philonoptera. Gymnosporia buxifolia Philonoptera Hendry. I think that'd be a wonderful name. What do you think, Mpho? You don't, Jerry. You don't track animals in this light. It's very difficult. I mean, you can look on the ground like this and hope that you can see tracks, which you can. If the animal's walked directly along the road, then you can. Absolutely. But if the animal has not walked on the road, it's not possible. It's just dangerous also. If you go on foot in light like this off the road, it's really quite dangerous. You can hear all the cicadas calling. All the males. hoping to attract a lady. I've always wondered how on earth a lady cicada figures out which male has the best call, given that the deafening din that they make is, well, to my ear, totally indistinguishable from with these one bug is totally indistinguishable from the other, and when there are thousands of them on one tree screaming their heads off, it must be very difficult. There's the scrub here, which I'm not going to light up because it looks terrified. Move, bunny. Oh, shame. Let's stop. There we go, it's gone. Just a little hop. Always like this area at night as well because it's got a sort of dankish smell about it. It smells like a, not quite a bog, but like a, I don't know, what do I mean? Like a fertile wetland is what it smells like. That's right, fertile wetland. Bog has a rather unattractive ring to it. Not much luck with the leopards today. We'll naturally do our best with them again tomorrow. But I think Tundi is off to the east of us. Kalamba is around here somewhere, but impossible. The male Morwati doesn't like to see cars, and I haven't seen hide nor hair of Shidulu for a long time. And I would very much like to see Shidulu the leopardess. She is of the western sector where we are now. So maybe she'll pitch up, especially as the lions have been absent for a few days. Often the leopards or the wild dogs will pitch up when that happens. Some impalas. I know Trishara finds a chameleon around here somewhere. Used to be on this tree. She's an absolute genius with that stuff. I don't see it on this tree, on this Philonoptera violacea. I've just been savaged by an insect down my front. It always takes a little getting used to as summer comes, being pelted in the face and having things crawling down your shirt. Initially you start trying to take them out, and then after a little while you just accept their presence, and after even more time you actually come to quite enjoy it because it's like being tickled on the back or on the chest by 10 or 12 little beetles and bugs and various other invertebrates. As long as they don't bite or sting or spray nasty chemicals on you, it's quite pleasant once you've got used to it. I always used to love this time of the year when the dung beetles came out and I was a guide, because when you had all the people sitting above you, you're driving along and I'd be sitting sort of this low, the spotlight or tracker with a spotlight, and these dung beetles would come in, attracted by the light, go straight over the top of my head and pelt into the guests behind. And you'd hear these shrieks. And it was always really quite funny. Sorry. Luckily, nobody was ever seriously injured by a dung beetle coming the other way. Anyway, I'm sure you can imagine it. All right, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Thank you very much for your questions and comments. Stay safe and happy wherever you happen to be on planet Earth. Bye-bye.
This is unbelievable stuff.
Live. The world's most famous live adventure can be found right here on Wild Earth.
Look at this, isn't this absolutely amazing?
Climb aboard and catch up with our royal leopard family from the Greater Kruger, the majestic lions of KwaZulu-Natal, and even a new family of meerkats in the Kalahari. Tune in live every single day only on Wild Earth. This program features live coverage